Hello, friends, and welcome to an unexpected podcast. I'm Ez.
And I'm Lane.
And we're talking Tolkien.
We're coming to you from the Shire of the United States of America, in the beautiful state of Ohio, in a little village called Amanda.
Well, you know, some people say that's basically all they get from this podcast is that the Shire is in
Mission
Amanda.
accomplished.
Right.
Well, like we said, we want Ohio to be the Shire, and I think people are starting to kind of figure that out. I'm not saying Amanda specifically is the Shire,
right.
though it is very Shire-like. As you've walked through town, how many times?
A dozen or so.
4 or 5, right? Yeah, okay. Dozen, sure. And
I've been here when you don't realize it. So
okay, Gandalf. Okay. Does it feel like the Shire?
Yeah, I mean it is very Shire-like.
I'm on Main Street. Let's put it this way: I'm on Main Street. I can look out my window and I see cornfields.
Oh wow, you must be a big deal.
And there's okay. Wow, starting it early. Ez has had a little lady Bly.
Hey,
I'm gonna out him. And he's been hanging out with the lady, and he's
cherry Coke too.
Gotta have a cherry Coke.
It's been a good day, guys. Celebration.
Gosh, dude.
Celebration.
I'm not sure if this is really, if we're really getting into the show here or not. But
no, we are. I think we just tell. I think for quick counsel, we just talk about what this day means to us, and don't really tell people what happened. Dude. But
I was holding off my full energy because I am kind of tired until you said this is. We're really doing this, but right now.
Yeah, we are.
We're doing this right now.
We're doing it right now.
We just had one of the coolest experiences of all time, and here's the great bit: is you're gonna get to completely participate in that as well. Absolutely. It's coming to you, so that's kind of an exciting thing. Yeah, I mean, we just got off the phone with someone who created orcs. And was the lead prosthetic artist for Thorin Oakenshield, and got phone calls from Richard Taylor saying, "Hey, can you come on? Can you come to New Zealand like tomorrow?" So that's pretty awesome, dude.
That's yeah.
And she was. Now you don't know who. I don't know if it was a he or she because we're teasing this.
Right, we're teasing.
I almost gave it away there.
No, we're teasing it.
Yeah.
It's been an epic day. It's a day that will. And now we're getting to record, episode 5, a shortcut to mushrooms.
I feel like I'm on shrooms, kind of.
I know, dude.
I don't know what that feels like.
Right.
But it's got to be close to this.
Right.
Just high as a kite, having fun.
I know, man.
Seeing stuff that we're really. I mean, I never imagined that we could have done that. It's great. It's crazy.
I know. So we're gonna be a little giddy this episode, guys, just because.
Bear with us.
Bear with us here. Yeah. Just been real emotional today. So, all right, man. Anything else for quick counsel?
I do have some more quick. Can we banter a little bit?
Absolutely. You're kind of a rambling man.
Lord, I was born a rambling man.
Come on.
Doing the best friend thing I can.
Right.
I don't even know if those are the words, but I am a rambling man. This is the podcast for it. Yeah. So in book clubs, you ramble, right? People go on tangents. They relate to the story. Excuse me. I'm just a lowly hobbit. Anyway, I don't know. Do you watch This Is Us?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I know.
You
I've
really
been hearing
need
that I need to. Yeah.
It's just the most.
It's got Mandy Moore in it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you love Mandy Moore?
Yeah, I do.
She's great in it. Milo Ventimiglia is amazing. It's pretty much like I don't know. No matter what family you're part of, you could probably relate to the show. I think that's why it's so popular. Yeah. But since our last podcast, the episode was released where we finally find out how Jack dies. Who's the dad? Okay. And like last season, we got these teasers that, well, we knew he was dead, and then we got these teasers as to how it happened. And so for the last year, we've gotten hints that just increasingly amounts of the way the show, you would love the show because it's written so well. Yeah. And so we've gotten more and more hints about how Jack is gone, and it's tragic because he's like this idyllic father figure. It reminds me of my dad. Right. But if I lost my dad when I was 17. Right. Yeah. And so that happened. My wife. It was after the Super Bowl. They had the after Super Bowl spot. Yeah, I remember. I only watched the Super Bowl to watch that episode. Yeah. So that was pretty massive. And then the following Tuesday was another episode. So I'm still emotionally recovering from that. So after what we went through tonight, I need to go into a late hibernation and just recover my strength. Right. I feel a little bit like when Frodo woke up in this chapter. He wakes up after that high with the elves, and he wakes up and he's pissed. He's like, damn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't have any answers. I'm not any farther along than I was.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
he's yeah.
That's been about it for me. I mean,
is that in it? Like, are you watching that as it's not out on like Netflix or something, is it, that I can watch? Or
you could catch up on
Hulu? Is it on Hulu?
Probably. It's on Hulu. Yeah, you can catch up on Hulu because Sarah went back and rewatched the first season.
Hulu. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay.
Other than that, though, I've been back to work. I feel like my brain's in a million different places. I got my brain, my work brain. Rugby season is starting to pick up, so that's my rugby brain, and then obviously like just soaking up all the time I can with Winnie and Sarah and Arwen, and thinking about the podcast a lot, man. Thinking about our uppers.
I'm telling you guys, it's hard not to go through our day to day and not think about the podcast because just the communication we have, just talking to folk from around the world,
it's
and,
crazy.
and things, it's just been great. So every day something pops up on my phone and it's you guys, and it's just so cool,
And,
so
so here's something that I wanted to say real quick because I feel like, I don't know what it was. I think I watched Touched by an Angel when I was a kid. And do you remember that show?
I do, yeah.
And I swear there was an episode where like someone died before they said goodbye or I love you or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Sarah remembers the same episode because she's the same way.
Okay.
So I always, and it impacted me as a little kid. Right. And I've always thought you should always say what you feel because you never know when your voice will be gone.
Yeah.
And so I'm always, I mean, you know me, I'm on the phone with Ez two phone calls in a row, and I end it with I love you both times. And he's like, oh God. Yeah, I love you too, man.
Yep.
Okay. But I'm that kind of guy. I say I love you to everybody.
The last time that you,
Yeah, because you never know when the last time.
You live that way.
So anyway, I'm rambling to say that like what you guys have done, the impact you've had on us, to like your positive comments, they charge our episodes.
Yeah.
They have us excited to reread the chapters even when we're busy and we have other stuff going on. You make it a priority for us because we know that you're waiting to listen and read with us, and we're waiting to hear from you.
Oh man, And
just the things, the quality, not just like, hey, great podcast, love being a part of it. It's the quality that you have communicated to us when everyone's lives are busy. You don't have to do it. There are podcasts. It makes me feel kind of guilty. There are podcasts that I listen to and love that I've never written a review for, never even rated. But you guys have like weighed us down with incredible, positive, uplifting. And I almost think I'm listening to these. I'm like, are you talking about? I mean, I know you're talking about Ez because Ez is incredible. I'm like, are you talking about me?
Obviously.
Like it's incredible. Just the positivity you're communicating is just, rest assured, it's being channeled directly back into this show, and you're gonna get from it, and then you're gonna give it to us, and it's just.
Well, and one of the cool things that's going to happen here soon is that, when we start talking about the recap and things, some of you guys have had such good, thought-provoking, posts that it's like, we got to read that. We have to go over that.
We're incorporating it today.
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of the book club. So never forget that.
Some serious writers in this group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like hilarious and insightful and picking up stuff that, it's funny because some of these reviews have been like, you guys think of it in a way I've never even thought of. And I think the same thing when I read their comments.
Absolutely.
I'm like, wow, never thought of it that way. That's incredibly brilliant.
Right.
Very insightful.
That's what we want.
You should be doing the podcast.
Yeah.
And in a way, they are.
You are.
We
That's
are.
the point.
So, yeah.
That's the point. Now, on a funnier, lighter note here,
They're done. My nails are done.
Okay, good. Good. My little quick counsel here. I'll put it to you guys like this. For the last 4 days, maybe halfway, including today, Lane's 7-8-year-old self would have been crying. Would have been in straight tears.
Don't bring this up.
Would have been in straight tears, man. Because
have you been eating alone every night at restaurants?
Alone at a buffet. Listen to my book.
We have to explain this. Or is that in the appendices? Can they go to the appendices to find that?
That's in the appendices, man. That's on Patreon, man. You want something else? It's there. There's some crazy stuff that's going to be dropped on Patreon this month. So be ready for that.
Do we want to explain it at all?
No, I think
Ez and I just get talking. I'll just say this much. Okay. Ez and I get talking, and we hit that record button and let it go.
Right.
And sometimes it's almost like a whole nother podcast in and of itself. But we wanted to share that with you through Patreon and call it the appendices.
Right.
Because it's a bunch of extra stuff that you don't necessarily need.
No, you don't need it
at all. But you get to know us a little bit better. So
yeah, and from that you would learn why Lane's 8-year-old little self was bawling his eyes out at a restaurant.
So to keep me from crying now, what restaurants you been in up as?
Just the standards, you know, China buffet, Asian Star, New Hong Kong buffet.
I think you need more MSG in your diet.
Let me think about.
Has anyone ever told you that?
Panda Express. So I mean, that's basically what I've been doing this week. Oh,
with the Olympics, you kind of got to hit some Korean, right?
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
no,
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. There's just none near me, so
yeah, Pyeongchang.
I'm too lazy to drive down the road for it.
Yeah.
Just okay. Yeah. Sorry, just wanted to lighten things up a little bit.
I like that. I like that.
Wow. Okay, are you ready? Let's jump into this here. We're gonna drop some eaves.
Let's do it. Okay, so dropping eaves. We've got some Amazon show news. Not really, because there's not a whole lot out there. It's kind of just...
Well, we may have some exclusive news coming up in our surprise. We have a surprise for you guys.
Surprise episode that's coming. I don't know. Should we tell them when?
I don't know. We should tell them.
Never know. Gosh, soon. You're going to want to you're going to just trust us. You're going to be thrilled with that surprise episode.
It'll be on a Sunday. So look forward on a Sunday.
It's going to be on a Sunday. Maybe when they give out golden statues.
Right. What is
Oscars?
What does Gandalf say on the third morning?
Look to my east. Look to the. Oh gosh, dude, I can't even think. I'm so giddy.
It's like he looks. At
the third morning. I don't know. At dawn, look to the east. That's what he says. So at Sunday, look to the dawn. I don't know.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So there's not a whole lot going on there. We've just been ruminating on this whole idea that it's going to take place in that 60-year gap between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
But Lane's saying today, throw that out.
I just don't. Okay, so I think that the problem with that is Amazon has a real opportunity, and it would be a risk because people are banking on something relatable to what they know. Right. And I understand that. But we need to adapt as a whole, an audience. We need to want something new. So I think they have a real opportunity for an origin story, right, of Middle-earth. They could tell any number of beginnings. They could tell from the beginning of Middle-earth.
Right.
They could tell.
Well, and that stuff's there, so it's not outside of the,
No.
It's not outside of Tolkien's work and world.
And so our knowledge, what they received in the rights. So I guess I don't know exactly what that entails, but So my fear is if they just use this show as a bridge between the two trilogies, the two trilogies, that ultimately that's all it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bridge. Not many people hang out on bridges, dude. You usually go on a bridge to get somewhere else. They connect 2 points.
Well, the three Billy Goats gruff work there quite often. I mean,
short of trolls.
Okay.
Which is, a character in Middle-earth, a race. Not many people are hanging out on bridges or under bridges, whatever Ezra's alluding to.
All right.
So, but I don't want this show to be a connection. I don't want it to be an avenue. I want it to, to get from one trilogy to the other. I want it to be its own thing, because I think if it is that, then it's not going to be very strong. It's constantly going to be playing to the fact that, hey, we're leading here, or hey, we came from here, which is fine, and it can work that way. But what I'm saying is, I think it could be better if it's its own thing, if it separates a little bit and stands on its own, and that it's if it's a story. If it's a story that is the reason you're watching the show, right? I want that to be the reason I'm watching, because not because I want to, because I don't know, not because I want to see how they're going to connect it, because I want to see, how are we gonna see this realized? This different story that's already there. So digging into the Silmarillion, or bringing something from the unfinished tales,
right?
Or going way off and telling the backgrounds of these myths that build into the trilogy. So I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna. I like we've said, probably not gonna happen, but you never know.
Right. Yep, I'm with you.
What do you think about that?
No, I'm with you. To keep it simple and short, I think you're right. If you just do filler in those 60 years, that's all you got.
Right.
Unless you're going to go year by year. Or something ridiculous.
If you isolate it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, anyways, but that does kind of lead us into, we wanted to talk just real quick. We had a little idea here to go over our top 5 characters from the books, not realized in the film that we have to see in the show, that we would like to see in the show.
Right.
So
kind of a wish list sort of thing.
Yeah.
As you got your top 5, are you ready?
My top 5, I'm ready to go.
Baby.
So my top 5, I've got Tom Bombadil, and just because I, like everyone else, would love to see, his interactions, and quite honestly, you don't have to do Tom Bombadil in that 60-year period. Obviously,
no,
you can do him in a number of ways.
He's like eternal, isn't he?
Right, he is.
Yeah.
Yes.
You hold on real quick? Did you know who originally wanted to play Tom Bombadil?
No.
Dude, he would have been perfect, and it's so sad that it's impossible now. I think he even petitioned to Peter Jackson to play. Yeah. Maybe not, but Robin Williams.
Oh my gosh!
Would he not have been the perfect Tom Bombadil? Apparently that was supposedly the rumor has it that was his dream role.
Oh my gosh, that would have been amazing.
Yeah. If he just could have hung on a couple years, he could have played him in the show.
Yep, I know. That's pretty cool.
Rest in peace, Rob.
Here we go. We want to go back and forth. Just want to go through my 5 real quick. I'm gonna go through my 5.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
Okay. Same thing here with Glorfindel. Sorry, I almost yelled that in the mic. Glorfindel.
Am I talking too loud?
No,
because you sound like you're whispering, and you got me self-conscious.
No, do I really?
I don't know.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
No, okay. I have the headphone in too, so I'm kind of halfway hearing
That's
myself.
True.
Yeah,
That's
we're
true.
Okay. We're all fine here.
It's fine here now. How are you?
We're good. Glorfindel. I just think it'd be kind of cool to see him. You could also someone else you could throw into, Second Age, wherever.
And he was replaced by, right? Wasn't Glorfindel the one that was replaced by Arwen in the films?
That's right. Also, Gildor would be kind of cool. Same sort of thing.
Yep.
Just different elves. They live so long that it becomes right. Fatty Bulger, who apparently was actually. He was in a deleted scene, or was he an extended edition?
He's in the party scene.
Okay, he's in
at Bilbo's party. There's kind of a heftier, huskier, plumper.
Yeah.
That he's never addressed by name, but I think when Bilbo calls out the Bulgers, he moves a little bit. And it's after he tells the joke. He's like, I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve. Right. And then he's kind of sitting there looking around, and you're like, that's a big hobbit. Okay. That's fatty.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I always liked,
but not really realized though.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, we need to see him realized.
Yeah, absolutely. Also here I have here Lane made me pick 5, so I had to go digging deep here. And I went for Elros, which is just Elrond's brother. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Kind of so Arwen's uncle.
Right, yeah.
Could that be like a sitcom?
I just think their whole like even Elrond's sons and different things. That his whole family. I think they're just really cool to kind of.
They could almost kind of do like a 90s sitcom kind of feel with the Elrose fire. They'd be like, what are you doing today, Elrose? I don't know. The orcs are out again. Oh, shucks, man. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Like kind of Full House type deal.
Right, yeah. I think that'd be a terrible way to go. But this is why Lane is not directing or having anything to do with the TV show. All right, man. Give me your top 5.
Ouch. Okay, so my top 5 are, I've always felt like I would love to get to know these characters more, and they haven't been in the films. Hobbit or Lord of the Rings is the Sons of Elrond. So kind of to piggyback off of your brother of Elrond, Elrohir and Elladan. It'd be really cool to see them. I've wondered their relationship with Aragorn. Like, would they mess with them?
Right. Yep.
You know, dating my sister.
Yeah. Bet they
little
did.
Numenorian.
Yeah.
Which leads me into my next one. I want to see more Numenorians and Rangers.
Right.
I feel like the only one we really get a good grasp of, obviously, is Strider, Aragorn.
Absolutely.
And I think it'd be cool because in the books, they have a bigger role to play.
Right.
And Return of the King, they have a much larger role to play. That was kind of wasn't highlighted in the films. Not saying it wasn't there in your imagination, but it definitely wasn't addressed. So that'd be cool. Right. The Numenorians, the Rangers. The Entwives.
Right. I don't know we'll ever see that, but I mean,
and I understand it's a cool mystery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is a wish list, as.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I want to see the Entwives.
I'm with you.
I want to see what it looks like under the leaves.
Okay.
And then I got Goldberry on there, of course. I wanted to piggyback. You said Tom Bombadil, and I was like, well, We got to see Goldberry because she's the babe anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think she's upstairs sleeping right now. And then Arathorn the second.
Yeah.
The father of Aragorn.
Yeah. Yep.
I kind of wonder about him. I mean, I know that he perished with an arrow through the eyeball. So that's kind of crazy. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
Yeah. An orc shot him through his eye. That's how he died.
Jiminy.
It's official. It's in the...
Okay.
It's in his the Tolkien's appendices. And didn't really get to raise his son. Mm-hmm. Right? He was raised by the elves, and it was because, his father died, and his mom perished too, but not quite as early as he lost his dad. But
right.
I think it'd be cool to hash out who he was. And I don't know how much Tolkien wrote about that. You could have some creative license that way. You could that'd be kind of a cool way to take liberties with the character as someone who Tolkien developed a little bit, but not all the way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
Be cool.
I'm with you. And I kind of think in general, it's just like, if you go back to those first and second age, you have more liberty.
There's
more
way more liberty. Because it's people weren't reading and poring over it.
Right.
Like Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
Yeah. Tolkien biopic called Tolkien. No new news right now. We'll continue to keep one eye on this project and update you with progress. We're looking for a release date pretty much. It's done. It's in post-production, so they're editing and scoring it and all that stuff, so that can take a while. But we'll make sure as soon as we hear a release date, we'll share that with you, and you guys might hear it in between podcasts and share it with us first before we can. And Ez and I are planning on going and watching that together, and we'll do a little review episode on it and kind of have some ability to focus on Tolkien the man as opposed to his creations. So that'd be kind of cool. Looking forward to that.
Right. Yep. Alrighty.
Next we have Today in Middle Earth. So we're catching you up on the previous 2 weeks, actually. A lot of stuff happens. Are you editing some of this, Ez? I see pink.
Pink? No, I'm just highlighting. Jiminy Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, guy highlight.
So, day after Valentine's Day, February 15th, the Fellowship's stay in Lothlorien ends.
Right.
They're about to get up out of there.
Right, they are. On February 16th, farewell to Lorien. Gollum is hiding on the West Bank, observes the departure.
Little bastard. February 17th, Gwyhair bears Gandalf to Lorien, which is interesting. I always forget that he went there right after them. It's almost like he... Yeah. I honestly, until I was putting this together, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about it because we're not there yet.
Right, yeah.
And I haven't read the books for a while. And he almost just kind of trails him.
Uh-huh.
He falls, does his thing, and then he trails him until he meets up with him again.
Right.
And the Fellowship faces the Great River, the River of Anduin, on the 17th.
Right, yep. All right. On the 18th, the Fellowship travels along the Great River.
Yep. February 19th, the Fellowship makes its way down the river. It's a long river, guys. And Gandalf recovers in Lothlorien.
Right. On the 22nd of February, the Fellowship tries to elude their trackers.
Yes. On February 23rd, the boats are attacked at night near Sarn Gaber. So it was not easy going for the Fellowship, man. They were, just because they're out of Moria and through Lothlorien doesn't mean they weren't hackled.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see, February 24th, the Fellowship's burden of decision is approaching. Gandalf sets out from Lothlorien.
Yep. February 25th, the Fellowship pass the Argonath and camp near Parth Galen. I love this part in the movie. One of my favorite parts. They're on the canoes and they come around that corner and Aragorn says, the Argonath, my kin, the kings of old. Just and the way they did it in the film, unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Just like the visual, I don't know, it's like stunning to see. The first battle of the Fords of Eisen happens, and this is when we lose Theodred. Theodred, son of Theoden, is slain, killed, dead. The heir is no more. Gandalf journeys south.
Right. Let's see, February 26th, the death of Boromir, his horn is heard in Minas Tirith.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So when he blew his horn, we got to check on that. I don't know what that means.
Where'd you get this from?
A reliable source.
Okay, cool, good. Let's see. Merry and Pippin are captured. Frodo's ordeal at, what is it?
Amon Hen.
Okay, all right. And then Gandalf aids Frodo in his struggles at Amon Hen. And Frodo and Sam enter...
Emyn Muil.
Thank you.
Yeah. Aragorn sets out in pursuit of the orcs that evening, and Éomer hears of the descent of the orc band from Emyn Muil. That was all in the 26th there. You got 27th there?
Yeah, 27. Aragorn reaches the West Cliff at sunrise. Éomer, against the wishes of Theoden, sets out from Eastfold about midnight to pursue the orcs. Merry and Pippin endure their captivity.
And then on February 28th, Éomer overtakes the orcs just outside of Fangorn Forest. The Rohirrim attack the orcs at sunrise, kick their butts.
They do. Yes. And then on the 29th, Merry and Pippin escape and meet Treebeard. Gollum is captured by Frodo and Sam. Faramir sees the funeral boat of Boromir. What is this?
Oh, this
Peter
is awesome.
Jackson's
Return of the King.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's not a Middle Earth happening, obviously.
Okay, conquers the Academy, the Academy Awards. Okay, cool. I was like, what?
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. Awesome. All right, guys.
So that's what's happening in Middle Earth.
That is what's happening. We are now to the reread. Big deal. Chapter 4, a shortcut to mushrooms. Which, isn't that what we all want?
I mean, I actually... Have you ever gone mushroom hunting?
Once.
Did you? In Kentucky, probably.
No, actually, it was around Apple Valley. And
seriously?
Yeah. And I'm actually... I went once, and my dad went a couple more times, but he had some buddies from work that did it. Yeah, and
Can I come next time?
Dude, I'm telling you, it was kind of crazy. Just trekking around. I mean, he knew the spots to look. I had no idea we were looking for. I mean, mushrooms, obviously, but like I didn't know where to look. You know?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'd love to do. I haven't done it yet, and I would love to go mushroom hunting.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Recap. From the last chapter. You want to take us through that lane, just sort of what happened last chapter?
Sure. So what Ezra talked about at the beginning of this podcast is we're going to start incorporating the threads that we do on Facebook for discussion threads for the previous chapter. We're going to share as part of the recap. So part of that is just reading your thoughts on the previous chapter, and what we're kind of doing now is catching up on previous chapters. So we haven't done this yet. So some of these are chapter 3, some of them are chapter 1 and 2.
Right.
So Chris Broughton had a pretty cool idea that I hadn't thought of, and he's flexing his races of Middle Earth knowledge here. This was amazing. We both thought this was really cool.
Yep.
He says, I had a thought about why Bilbo and Frodo were so different from other hobbits beyond their bloodline. I'm not currently joining you on the reread. I was actually in the middle of reading the Silmarillion when I found your podcast, and so I will finish that before catching up with the Fellowship. That being said, a thought occurred to me while reading about the dwarves. Each race is tainted or acquainted with grief in a way. Very interesting. Mm-hmm. The elves with their fear of permanent death and the fact that they are destined to leave Middle-earth. The dwarves from the beginning were threatened with extinction and the fact that they are a mistake.
Right, yep.
The men with the brevity and violence of their lives. The hobbits are alone in their perfect joy and peace. They revel in ignorance. Mm-hmm. Except that is for Frodo. In Bilbo's adventure, he begins as a fairly normal hobbit, and the story reflects it in that tone. By the end, however, he has adopted a bit of the dwarf's sadness, and it sets him apart from the other hobbits. Frodo is much the same. His parents die while he is still young, so from the beginning he is acquainted with loss, and so his story feels different from the beginning, and it may be why he so much resembles Bilbo from the get-go. He said, anyway, it's just a thought I would share. Thank you for sharing that, Chris.
Glad you did.
Yeah, keep that sharing. And full disclosure here, I have not read the Silmarillion. It's always been one of those writings that he has written that has kind of intimidated me.
Yeah.
And so as we progress through Lord of the Rings, when we finish this, we're going to go on and read The Hobbit. And then after that, I think our plans are kind of to dig into the Silmarillion. Yeah,
and we'll look at that because we might look at there's a certain you could go with the histories of Middle Earth or the unfinished tales and such. We've got to really look at that once we get to that part, kind of figure out how we want to go about that. And we might be talking to some of you and kind of figure out where's the best place to start.
Yeah.
Because it is a lot to take in. That's why I love it. That's why we love this big extended universe and things, this Middle Earth that we have. But man, I tell you what, that's the kind of deep and sweaty we like. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, then that all that does to me is that whets my appetite for the Silmarillion. I mean, that if that kind of information is there, That is so cool. I know it's the origins and all that. So, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We have some more comments from our episode 3 thread. Daniel Couch said, listening to it now, and I'm at the part where you're discussing the ring being reluctant for Gandalf to touch it. I don't think it's so much that the ring is reluctant to go to Gandalf, but that the ring makes the ring bearer very reluctant to let anyone touch it. Anyone else touch it, or the possibility of it changing hands. If you're the ring bearer, you want to stay with the ring. You want to stay the ring bearer, even if you don't. He had that in parentheses.
Yeah.
So definitely agree with that. That's amazing. Looking through here.
Mm-hmm. And guys, by the way, these are all just on our Facebook. We just pull it right off the thread. Lane's sifting through them right now, and
there's just there's some other cool comments. I'll just read it. It doesn't necessarily have to do with reflection, but Emma Rose Kolk, loved the episode, and thanks for reading out my comment. Also, very well done on pronouncing my surname correctly, as most people have a lot of trouble with it for some reason. I do listen to Swish and Flick. In parentheses, I'm a patron. Awesome. And that was where I first heard about about this podcast. So that's really cool.
Cool.
Chris Broughton said, I'm an SAHD. It's incredibly fulfilling. Telling about being a stay-at-home dad.
Right, yeah.
Nicole Whitaker, first, this day in Middle-earth calendar needs to happen.
Yeah, right. We talked about that.
She says it needs to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
And then...
you don't need to filter that by ages, too, though. There's so much.
And that's kind of what I do. I sift through if there's another age that pertains.
Right,
Connor Taggart said, guys, recently started listening and really enjoying the podcast. Keep up the good work. Listening from Ireland.
Sweet.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to find stuff that, but great stuff that applies to the previous episode. So keep commenting there, and we'll share that as part of the recap.
Yeah,
take us up to speed on where we are.
Yeah, I'll take you up to speed. The last note on that is just anything that that we missed, or a deeper connection, or something like that's the kind of stuff we want to see. Yeah. I love it because it takes it further. It's that book club. You bring your notes, you bring your takeaways.
Yep.
Sort of thing.
I have another one from Emma Rose. Go. This was really cool too.
Yeah.
I noticed something while reading this chapter. This is talking about chapter 3. 3 is company.
Uh-huh.
I noticed something while reading this chapter that I thought I'd share with you. When the constellation Menelmacar is mentioned, it is described as being almost identical to the real-life constellation Orion. Mm-hmm. That went over my head.
Yeah.
Good catch there. Middle-earth was intended to be a prehistoric Earth, so I love this nod to the fact that we are living in the same world as the hobbits and with the same night sky, just with different names.
Yeah,
which is, and that is what Tolkien did. He was his intention for Lord of the Rings was to create a pure English mythology.
Yeah,
right. Because all the mythologies that they had were influenced by other, like invasions, the Norman invasion,
right.
The Saxons coming in. Yeah. So they didn't really have their own pure English mythology, and that's what he's creating. So just awesome comments, guys.
Cool.
Great stuff.
I like it. All right, guys, on to the summary for A Shortcut to Mushrooms. And here we go. Frodo, Sam, and Pippin spent a restful night with Gildor and company. Sam wakes up a new hobbit. Guys, literally, something is up with Sam. We're going to talk about it. He's a new man, hobbit, what have you. Yeah. Frodo and Pippin decide to take a shortcut, which will lead them through the bog and briar of Buckland. Yeah. While the Black Riders continue their sniffing, don't forget the sniffing.
Yeah.
All right.
What about the sniffing?
Don't forget it. All right.
Did he mention the sniffing?
No, I said don't forget it. All right. Sam uses his keen sense of hearing to keep the company one step ahead of their pursuers. The shortcut takes the hobbits right onto Farmer Maggot's land, and Frodo is paralyzed with a new fear.
Yeah.
So here we go.
One of his past.
Right.
So we split this up into 3 3 parts here pretty much. So the first part is pages 84 through 86 in the light of day. Second part is 86 to 90 through bog and briar, and the third part is Maggot Unmasked, which is page 90 through 95. Another great comment. Oh my gosh. I guess we'll talk about this a little bit more. No, you know what? Heck, I'll just mention it now. Jeremiah Allen had a really cool idea. He took a picture of his versions, because we talked about our page numbers and the versions being different. Yep. He took a picture of his versions from the books he reads from. He said, your mention of different page numbers in different editions. My Facebook's freaking out. Anyway, he pretty much just said, he took a picture of his books and said it'd be cool to get everyone's versions on there.
Right.
So maybe what we do is we create a photo album that has pictures that you guys can submit or send to us, and we'll submit them of your versions of the book.
Yeah.
So we can compile that, and you can see what
we can start a thread. We'll
download
download them, and then we'll put them in like an album or something. Yeah.
Sorry, a little sidebar there, but didn't want to forget.
Yeah, because we do reference the page numbers, and it's nice to, if you have a different version, it's no big deal. I mean, that's obviously we all do. So, but yeah. So
you want to start
in the light of day?
Filling up the corners.
Yeah, I guess they awake. They're. I think you'd mentioned this before. Not really frustrated. We talk about how the elves basically. They're yes and no.
Yeah.
They're not gonna. They're gonna take the middle of the road here, and advice is sort of this double-edged sword, right?
Dangerous,
right?
Yeah, they make it pretty clear,
right? And I think that's frustrating, but it is what it is, and the hobbits have to deal with that. But again, I get why it's a double-edged sword, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe the more we know. The less maybe that we're willing to risk and step out of our door.
Totally.
That was the whole point.
Well, we see it in this chapter too, don't we? And they know more than they did, previously. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And at times it leaves them paralyzed.
Right.
There's a section here that we'll get to where something happens with the Black Riders, and they don't know where to go. Right. They don't want to leave their cover, but they know they can't stay there.
Right.
So yeah, sometimes too much knowledge can be paralyzing, right? Can stunt you. Yeah.
Right. And so basically they're kind of a little frustrated. There's some food left over that the elves left though, so it's super important. All right, it's there, and they saved Frodo some. Okay, guys. So
they made him a bed. Did you notice that it opens with him laying on all these branches? He didn't. I don't think he noticed. Like it's like he fell asleep and they built him a bed and laid him down.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I know
the elves take care of you.
I know it's unreal.
They
do. They've saved him some food and it was all Sam. Pippin's like, I wasn't gonna save you anything. But,
right.
You lucky dog, get up and eat.
Yep.
But those guys also went to bed. Much sooner and so. But Sam sounds like Sam had an interesting night, and we don't really get to hear that. And I like that's a little mysterious to us because, like I said in the summary, he is a new man. He's a new hobbit.
Before we dig into this, I have a couple takeaways. I liked how Tolkien again shows us his characters instead of telling us. He lets them just kind of take the stage, and we can figure it out. Frodo wakes up. Would you say pissed off? Kind of agitated. He's like frustrated. He's like, man, you know what? Dang it. Like I think Tolkien mentions like the light of day made Sam and Pippin forget their troubles, but for Frodo it was almost too bright. Wow. He was like, you know what? He's like, gosh. He's probably thinking to himself, here we go, another day. I know more of the danger that faces me, but I know less of what to do. I feel like I have less direction. Mm-hmm. So he's feeling kind of frustrated. And it comes out in that conversation he has with Pippin when Pippin's like, did you ask about the sniffing? He's like, God. No. And if it would have been pretty important, I'm sure Gildor wouldn't have told me anything. And they're kind of snipping at each other.
Right. Yeah,
and so you can kind of see how Pippin, I guess like that film version of Pippin is true. How he just kind of, he's quick and he can be kind of annoying. Yeah. But in the end, he's there for you.
Like he likes to get under your skin a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Poke the bear.
Yeah. Sure. Yep. Yeah. And so you can kind of see that, and you kind of see Frodo's role as being, a senior hobbit and being like just sort of annoyed and just I want to eat my breakfast in peace is what he says.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here is the part where you said treacherously bright.
Yeah.
The morning was treacherously bright.
What a juxtaposition there.
That.
Treacherously bright. Like, come on.
Yep.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. So you were talking about this transformation of Sam.
Yeah.
It's like he went up on the mount, man. The transfiguration. I don't know. Was he touched by an elf? Oh,
dude, that's weird.
Touched by an angel is what I was going with.
I know you were.
Playing back in there. Touched by an elf.
I know you were.
I mean, I don't know.
Here's the thing.
He seems enlightened to me.
He does.
And Frodo.
And, I don't really know. You know, sometimes we've read in these first couple of chapters, there's something else causing Frodo to dream or go into song or, to take him down a certain path. There's another power at work.
Yes.
Thank right?
God.
It's so subtle, though, actually.
Yeah, it is.
And you sometimes don't even quite know that it's there. But this is one of those things, maybe this is more direct with it being this correlation and connection to the elves. Mm-hmm. But something that they're in connection with has really influenced Sam. You know, and he is honestly now, he doesn't know why, he doesn't know what the pull is, but he must go forward. And he must see this through.
Yes. And it's interesting too, isn't it? I guess like the foreshadowing we've seen with previous chapters of Sam's obsession with elves.
Right.
You know, like one of the first interactions we had with him, I think, it's just sticking out to me. I'm sure it was there. If not, forgive me for misremembering. But when he's having that conversation with Ted Sandyman in the Green Dragon, someone mentions elves and he gets really excited.
Right.
So we learn right off the bat that he's got this infatuation and this fascination with elves and who they are, but also a fear, like a healthy fear. When I say that, I mean like respect.
Right.
Right. He talks about how, you know, their likes and dislikes are a bit above him, so to speak. Right. He understands that they're ethereal beings, that they're creatures to aspire to. But
yeah, it's almost like he can't quite comment on them. You know, it's almost like
Which who does that sound like? An elf.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like Gildor to me.
Yeah.
I would tell you to do this, but I'm not going to.
Well, but I also think it was more, the way I kind of interpreted it was that it was like this humbleness to Sam, that I don't know that I'm the guy to comment on these folk because they're.
Yes, but I guess I'm trying to. I guess I'm
No,
saying the same thing as you.
It is, yeah.
The elves are, for all their knowledge and all their wisdom, they have a sense of humility.
That's true,
right? I mean, for as much as they know, they won't give advice because they know of the dangers of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, one thing that's interesting about this, comparing this chapter here, what's said, you know, don't you leave him, right?
Yeah.
And that always comes. You think that comes from Gandalf.
Yeah.
Right. But that's
right,
coming
in the
from
films.
these. Right.
That's right. Yeah.
That's coming from these elves here. You know.
Yeah.
And I never mean to. I am going with him if he climbs to the moon. Wow. And if any of those Black Riders try and stop him, they'll have Sam Gamgee to reckon with. I mean,
man, he's fierce.
He's something. So something is changing him. It's not just about this cool adventure and going with, you know, Master Baggins and things. You know, it's more than that. And he realizes that. Yeah. I almost wonder, he's pretending to be asleep, right? I think he hears them talk when everyone else has drifted off. Yeah. I could see even Frodo drifting off and Sam playing asleep. Yeah. He wants to hear the conversation afterwards. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe old Samwise knows a little bit more than he should. Yeah. And maybe that's what's changed him. And he doesn't want to, you know, not that that's what happened, but it makes me think.
No, and it almost seems, so definitely like he gains knowledge, but there's also just something, he takes Frodo off guard. The things that he says, Frodo expects to look over and see him, see him changed, right? Or see someone
physically
else.
Changed.
Yeah, and he's like, no, that's Sam.
Right.
And it's peculiar to Frodo. It kind of like intrigues Frodo. He's like, wow, what is this? What is this change? So even his master notices this difference in him. Well,
and I'll tell you, I'm not to jump way far ahead here, but the parallels between like what happens here in the beginning of this chapter and what happens with another character at the end of this chapter. Yeah. You know, right, just to see that's really our two big talking points in this is what happens to Sam, what's unexpected, the change that takes place, and then something that was always there but that was never seen. You know what I mean?
Right.
With Farmer Maggot, but we'll get there.
It really is like I think of the Transfiguration of Christ. Yeah, like it kind of. I mean, it's the same shock factor of like Frodo being taken aback, like who is this? So like Samwise the Brave is really coming into his own. Mm-hmm. I seriously think Touched by an Elf should. I think it's coming to the Hallmark Channel this September.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It should. Yeah.
Maybe not. Yeah.
So we got next. Yeah.
Something else. So the visit from the elves has really like hastened Frodo.
Yeah.
You made an awesome. I mean, your points are always solid. you noted at the end of last chapter, his home is not nearly as safe as he thought it was. I think you even said at one point, you said, this is his home court, this is home turf, and you expect to have an advantage there. And Frodo's learning really quickly there's not much of an advantage.
Right.
And he didn't even realize it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of taken aback by that. But I think this visit with the elves spurns him to move a little more quickly and secretly. And we see that take action as they go through Bog and Briar, is that Pippin's pretty keen. He's like, just stay on the road. And Frodo's like, no. And Pippin even says, you know what that thicket's like? We're going to get all twisted around. It's going to be a mess.
Right.
Frodo says, I'd rather be off the road. You know, they're going to be looking for us on the road.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and then they go back and forth a little bit. They wanted to hit up the golden perch.
Yeah, that's right. I love that.
But they're going to over
best
the East
beer
Farthing.
in all the stock, right?
Yeah.
No, the best beer in the East Farthing. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but anyways, after a bit, once Frodo's heard that, okay, it's settled, boys. If that's our reason for being on the road, then shortcuts make delays.
Yeah.
But inns make longer ones.
Yeah, that's right.
All right,
man.
so they're off. They're going to set off through the Bog and Briar, but
I think he's almost more concerned about avoiding the gold perch than he is the Black Riders.
Yeah,
it might be a tie at all costs.
Right.
We must avoid the gold perch. Yeah, golden perch. Yeah,
yeah. So I mean that's kind of where they go back and forth on this bit, and it's it is interesting that this is it's a small decision, but it's a big one.
Yeah,
it
shapes the rest of the chapter,
right? Yeah,
and really the rest of the adventure. I mean, honestly,
right.
yeah, because even deciding to go off the road, they have some pretty scary encounters.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like this, I was rereading it again this afternoon to prepare for the podcast, and dude, my heart rate was up. I was sweating.
Yeah,
the blood pressure was up. I mean, if you read it and really get into it and give it all your attention, it's crazy. It's very stressful.
Yeah, it is.
Very stressful.
Well,
and we even had a day today that was kind of warmer. That was a lot like the weather we're seeing here.
Oh my gosh, I was driving on the way down here because it mentions once we get into Bog and Briar, the wetness and the mud and almost like the fog and the
ragged rain clouds.
Yes, man,
sweeping
that's
across.
exactly what was happening today.
Yeah.
It was unreal on the way down here because I was listening to it on my way down. And I was like, "Jeez,
it's the
dude,
best." I know.
Could not pick a better day to listen.
Right,
to this.
right.
But so now we're into the Bog and Briar, and so as the going's tough, as it should be, as they knew that it would be. So they're making straight for the ferry over the country. There were a few ditches and fences. Frodo reckoned that they had 18 miles to go in a straight line.
Right.
Okay.
And they weren't going in a straight line, so
they got
which that's a full day.
Right. It is a full day. And a lot of this, guys, this is one of the shorter chapters in the book. So we're not going to make a whole lot out of nothing, but if we miss something, obviously let us know. But it kind of just goes on to describe here a little bit their struggles, their ups and downs.
And right off the bat, we kind of have a little scary moment here.
Yeah.
Sam Gamgee looked back, and I'm on page 87 in our version. Sam Gamgee looked back through an opening in the trees. He caught a glimpse of the top of the green bank from which they had climbed down. So where they just were, mind you.
Right.
Look, he said, clutching Frodo by the arm. They all looked, and on the edge, high above them, they saw against the sky a horse standing. Beside it stooped a black figure.
Yeah.
Gosh, dude, unnerving.
It's such a contrast, you know what I mean? Because I imagine it, just going from being in the safety of the elves to just stepping off onto the shortcut, and right behind us is the Black Rider. He's already there,
and the speed with which they pursued it almost makes you wonder, like, when they were hanging out at Woodhall, were the riders just in the shadows observing?
Yeah, it does make you wonder.
Or were they at least close by, keeping an eye on, knowing that hey, when the elves pass on, we're clear to move back in.
Something like that.
And that's frightening. Like the fact that the idea of being watched is almost scarier than anything.
Right.
So right away they've got that, and that kind of makes them move with a a lot of haste.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that's kind of interesting is, I just think it's funny that the writers are using their sense of smell.
Yeah.
Quote, air quote smell, by the way.
Yeah, that's
they're sniffing. All right.
Right. They're sniffing.
And old Sam, he's got them sharp ears.
Right.
A sense of hearing.
Battle of the senses.
Right. Battle of senses. Right.
Yeah.
So, you've got sharp ears, Sam. Can you hear anything else coming? And it's just sort of like, what's funny is
like hearing is really emphasized in this chapter.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of dependency on what they hear, what they don't hear coming.
That's right.
Because a lot of times it's so thick they can't see what's going on, or later on they're covered up and they lose their visual. So
yeah, you start to rely on the other senses.
Right. Which is cool. Scary too, because you rely so much on what you see, and when that's taken away, a little unnerving. Yeah.
Builds the suspense and all of that. So they're holding their breath there. They're listening. There was no sound of pursuit or what have you. But they kind of had a decision, right? It was to, and that made it up for them. Yep. Which, like right before that, they're arguing about where to go because they had come up against like a patch of briars that basically if they went down it, they were going to get muddy and wet and all this what have you. Right. Well, that doesn't matter anymore because they're is a black rider in pursuit. So boom, here we go. We're trudging through.
We'd better get going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, let's see. You have some stuff here.
They kind of start to lose their orientation. They're not really sure like what direction they're headed in, and they almost rely on these clearings to clue them into like where they are. Mm-hmm. So again, they're kind of flying blind, right? Yeah. They're relying on Pippin's knowledge of the area to guide him in the general direction, but even he's like, guys, he says at the very beginning, if we do this, we're probably going to get lost, or it's definitely going to make the way longer and harder. So. Right.
Yeah. He talks about this being Stockbrook. And basically that they need to, that they basically need to cross at once and bear to the right. So, they waded the stream and then they hurried over a wide open space, rush-grown and treeless on the further side. So, and then from there, we're moving along. There's all of a sudden, it seems like the weather starts to change a little bit here because the morning was bright. Mm-hmm. It was treacherously bright, right? But then it's always interesting to pay attention, folk, when the weather changes. Things are getting gloomy. Something's up. Yeah. So the leaves are blown upward in a sudden gust of wind, and spots of rain began to fall from the overcast sky. The wind had died away, and the rain came streaming down. So that change in weather takes place right after we see these riders, which that's just good writing, I think.
Yeah, it is. Also interesting too. There's a little mention too about how they did not talk, but kept glancing back and from side to side. So they went from in this morning kind of this carefree, where only Frodo felt more burdened, to realizing like we're back into danger here, heads on a swivel, no talking.
Right.
And you can almost envision these poor three little hobbits, uncomfortable and tired and wet and scratched up, like just on constant lookout for their doom.
Right. Yep.
It's just it's terrifying, man. Like that would be terrible.
Right. And they're making their way through, and it says they start to go in kind of zigzags and things. Yeah. They're not.
Then we come out of it too.
Right.
Right. It says, I love this description. Then the sun gleamed out of ragged clouds. Again, you're right there. The rain just picked up here.
Man, I'll tell you, that's eerie as all get out, man. We're reading about this, dude. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I have to stop. No, I'm sorry, guys. I know we're in the middle of the reread right now. I have looked over at that window probably 15 times.
This has been freaking me out.
I thought for sure there was a black rider in that window. It's like late at night, man, and I'm like,
we are in the Shire, man. This is Bag End.
I saw something across the road through your window.
Stop.
And there's like wind blowing, and
stop, dude.
It's raining.
I wish we were filming this right now because it really is like
it's storming outside.
So my house reminds me of Bag End anyway. It's very hobbity.
Good Lord.
And like Yeah, Ezra's right. We're looking
I got
out the
scared.
windows, and I saw him glance over about 10 times.
I did.
I'm like, what the heck? I kept looking at him to see what was. I was trying to, without talking into the microphone, ask what was going on, and he kept just nodding and going like, shh, it's okay, without saying anything. But he kept looking over, and then the rain picks up, and he just turns straight around and looks at the window behind him, and darn near pees himself.
Dude, I'm telling you, I don't know what was going on, and that's no joke, guys. I was trying to keep straight face during the reread, but I kept like looking over because I thought at one point someone was looking through that window, bro. So I'm just
Don't say that.
No,
there's thunder going on.
No,
too.
that wasn't what happened. Don't want to scare you, but because we're in the safety.
I'm not scared. No one's touching Frodo.
You're darn right. You're darn right. We're in the safety of the
take
Shire.
him.
We're still in our home court. Gosh dang it!
Is the Shire safe though?
I don't know.
We're building the case here, my friend.
We're strangers. But anyways, real quick.
It does. Yeah, go ahead. What page are you on, by the way?
I'm on page 88.
So am I.
Right.
Okay.
And so let's jump out of that zigzagginess or whatever. They went on for another couple of miles, and then the sun. I wish the sun would come out right now. It'd really help me.
That'd also be kind of weird because it's 11 at night.
That'd be weird. Whatever. Yeah. You know what I'm saying. Then the sun gleamed out of the ragged clouds again, and the rain lessened. And so it's around midday. And so the weather's changing. It's almost like this, this rainstorm came through and just sort of sheets of rain and stuff, and and we're good.
I love that phrasing too. Again, I just love the way Tolkien words things. So like just the two simple words, ragged clouds. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can visualize that. And I'm sure we all can. Like, you're out, and like today was a very spring-like day in the middle of February, and you look out and you see these just big breaking storm clouds that are going away and clearing off.
Yep.
And they're ragged. I mean, there's no other way to describe it, but not a way you often hear clouds described as being ragged. So just beautiful. And something that Tolkien does here too, I think I got it noted later on, but it's worth talking about now because we are going so back and forth, and you keep looking out the windows and I keep looking out the windows, and then we feel fine. Is to keep us on the edge of our seat and to keep us in constant fear and anxiety. Is he keeps doing this shifting.
Yeah,
there's sort of a light-hearted moment followed real quickly by something ominous. Right. And then we have another light moment, and we don't feel afraid anymore, and then something treacherous happens again. And then we have a break from the tension, and then we're in pursuit, or we hear a cry or a shriek. Mm-hmm. It's just this constant back and forth. For being such a short chapter, it's one of the most up and down emotive chapters we've had yet, where we're just kind of we're like, are we safe? No, we're not. Are we safe now? And it really mimics how, obviously it mimics how they're feeling, but it creates that in you as a reader, where you almost feel like the entire time you're at the edge. Like I think about that coming up here when they're getting ready to cross more into Buckland, when they're on the edge of the forest and there's this huge vast opening ahead of them, and you're thinking, gosh, nowhere to hide. So once we step out now, there's nowhere to hide. And this whole chapter kind of feels like that. There's nowhere to hide. Like, we're still in the Shire. It's only going to get harder.
Well, yeah. They're undercover in a sense yet, and still feeling the anxiety and the exposure. We're kind of safe because we're zigzagging and we're meandering our way through here. We're in the bog and the briar, but still kind of feel exposed. Yeah. So just not feeling safe in either setting. I
kind of wonder if it might have been the power or the divine connection with the elves that sort of swept those rain clouds off. Because what happens? What do they find in their bottles?
Yeah, they find a little something that I've been nursing over here, which is some Lady Bly.
Little Lady Bly.
So that's what they find. I got a little So, other than theirs is clear. Mine's got a little brown tint to it.
Yeah, it's moonshiny.
But they had filled their bottles with a clear drink, pale. Oh no, this is pale golden. Okay, cool, pale golden in color. That's exactly what I thought. Yep. A scent of honey made of many flowers, and it was wonderfully refreshing.
Yeah.
Right. It literally, I think that's what's on the back of this bottle.
I think it's the description of Lady Bly.
Yeah. So anyways, soon they're laughing and they're snapping their fingers at the rain and the Black Riders. Yep.
And how cool the I know, and again, like up and down, and the foresight too that the elves had. Like they knew that they were going to need this the following day. They knew they were going to need a little pick-me-up. They know the way to the heart of a hobbit is through good food and good drink. And so they slipped him a little something as a, I don't know, as like a way to keep going with him, I think, to continue to protect him. Is they can find a moment and have a little, forget their troubles for a little bit. And, ho, 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 to the bottle I go. Oh. To heal my heart and drown my woe. Rain may fall and wind may blow. And there still be many miles to go. Love that we get that in the movies too.
Oh, that's great. That's
great little song.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't want to get too loud because what happens literally right after that?
Oh man, right after that. I mean, well, what almost happened outside your window here, which is
dude,
whatever that noise was. It sounded like a Black Rider was. You guys won't be able to hear it in the recording, but I mean, it literally. What's the parallels that are happening between today and what we've read in this chapter are uncanny.
It's unreal.
So. But they hear this loud like screeching, this noise, right? They hear
a long drawn wail came down out of the wind like the cry of some evil and lonely creature.
Right.
It rose and fell and ended on a high piercing note. Even as they sat and stood, as if suddenly frozen, again just being frozen with fear, it was answered by another cry, fainter and further off, but no less chilling to the blood. There was then a silence broken only by the sound of the wind in the leaves. And I've had moments like that too, where you're out in the wind. My Lord, you're out in the woods and something weird happens.
Yeah,
and then there's just a bunch of silence, and you can. It's amazing how loud the wind whipping through the leaves is. When normally it's just a rustle, but it just because of your tension and their adrenaline's kicking in is what it is, and they're just like, oh crap.
Well, dude, I mean, this is a scary sound that's made, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing that I can think that parallels it in my life is when I'm sneaking in to my house late at night and it's all quiet, and I think I'm on the top step, about to hit and jump into my room, and I hear my mom, Ezra.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Scare the daylights out of me.
For sure, dude.
And that wasn't coming from down the stairs. Mom was in my room, But
what about the Sasquatch encounter, though?
Yeah, that was also pretty scary too. Yeah, but they're frozen.
Yeah,
paralyzed here for a little bit.
And then Pippin, it's so funny, like how he's trying to he's trying to calm himself as much as everyone else, and his voice is quavering. He's like, and what do you think that was? If it was a bird, it was one I have never heard in the Shire before. Like, nice try. And then Frodo's like, dude, it's a call. It's a call or a signal. He said, there's no birds and no hobbits can do that. And they were all thinking of the riders, but no one spoke of them. And you can also relate to that, like being so scared, and y'all know what you're scared of.
Right.
But if it feels like if you talk about it, it's going to make it more real, or maybe people lose their cool when you verbalize that. So that's what they're trying to stay. These poor hobbits, man, they're trying to stay cool under pressure, and they're doing a hell of a job. If I had a rubber band, I'd break it right there. Sorry.
No, man.
They're just trying to get to their destination, man.
Yeah, but when you say that none of them would really acknowledge or speak or verbalize what it was.
Yeah,
that's a fear that I think we all can kind of relate to, right? I mean,
it's
that's something
passive-aggressive.
that you just don't. I don't know, man. I'm there with them. It's like, all right, okay, cool. Let's just move on. No one talk about it.
It's almost like
act like it's not there.
Right. Ignorance. It's the ignorance of the hobbits. Right. It's if you don't speak it into being, then it's not real.
Right.
Or if you don't acknowledge it, it can't happen.
Yeah.
I'm just hitting me right now. I almost feel most sorry for Pippin. Frodo knew what he was kind of getting into a little bit.
Yeah.
Sam, by way of Frodo, knew a little bit more.
Yep. And Gandalf.
Gandalf.
Yep.
Pippin had no idea. He thought they were just going to hang out at the cottage. He was going to stop at the Golden Perch.
Right.
Before this little trek out east, he had no knowledge of Black Riders, and now he's fearing for his life. Right?
Yeah.
Will he ever have good golden ale from the East Farthing again? I don't know. The Golden Perch he may never see again. He's starting to realize this, and this is why probably he's the most scared in that scene. His voice is quavering.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's not committed yet in a way that the other two are.
No, you're right.
And I think that's, you sort of see that one by one commitment that happens.
And you see that, we kind of passed over it, but you see that sort of, trying to think of the right word, just that hesitation by Frodo to ask them to go on this journey.
Oh, sure.
And that's when Sam speaks out and impresses him, and then we have that transfiguration, that transformation into Samwise the Brave, where he appears changed. But at that very moment, he saw like Pippin off skipping and goofing around, and he was like, asking them to come on an adventure is one thing. Asking them where we're a little bit uncomfortable, asking them to go into the heart of doom is something else. I can't ask that of them. They're too good of friends to me. So he's even struggling with, how much do I tell? Like he's probably, I'm sure internally going, what do I tell Pippin? How much do I enlighten him to? Or do I keep him, do I help him stay as ignorant as possible?
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel bad for Pippin here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I get that, yeah. And so right after that, they're pressing along, and we quickly get into we start to describe basically the countryside. They're cautiously, creeping out from the edge of the trees. Mm-hmm. They set up across the open, and we quickly get into Farmer Maggot's territory.
Yeah,
Pippin recognizes the land, and tells them where they're at.
Yep.
So might as well hop right into that, and this new fear sets in on Frodo.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's so ridiculous that he's afraid of Farmer Maggot and his dogs and this thing that happened in his past, that it's like a welcomed fear to forget what's pursuing them.
See, and I kind of wonder who he fears more. Does he fear the Black Riders more, or Farmer Maggot? I mean, he's like terrified, dude.
Terrified, yeah.
He says, oh my gosh, what does he say?
I'm terrified of him and his dogs.
Yeah.
I've avoided his farm for years and years. He caught me several times trespassing after mushrooms when I was a youngster at Brandy Hall. On the last occasion, he beat me, and he took me and showed me his dogs. See, lads, he said, next time this young varmint sets foot on my land, you can eat him.
Right. That's a pretty big threat, and especially as a youngin. And then before that, he says, one trouble after another. And that's exactly how it would feel. Yeah. And Frodo says, looking nearly as much alarmed as if Pippin had declared the lane was the slot leading to a dragon's den.
Yeah, jeez.
And we can understand how that feels from The Hobbit, right? From Bilbo's fear of going into parley with Smaug, and like Frodo's comparing going to Farmer Maggot's down his lane like going to visit a dragon.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I almost wonder who's he afraid of more. But you're right. It's so silly because we know the outcome, sure. and we know, and we can put.
We know the Black Riders too. Well,
that's true.
I guess if you're reading this for the first time, maybe you don't quite know what they are.
And Farmer Maggot sounds pretty scary.
Yeah.
But we get into that a little bit.
Yeah. Let's see. What else you got here?
That's it for that section, I think.
Okay, so we're on to
I've been thinking lately.
Unmasked.
I think we should. I don't know. Do you think we should start a Lord of the Rings podcast?
Oh man, I don't know. We've been over this before.
What do you think?
You
think we should do it?
I think we should.
See, the problem is we got to get the name just right.
Right.
You got any off the top of your head?
Probably like I don't know, maybe some alliteration here. Two Tooks podcast.
Oh,
right.
I love that because two and Tooks.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of sound.
Yeah. Pretty good.
I like that. Okay, and this is just off the top of my head. I'm not reading it all. You'd have to forgive me for this, but I'm thinking XX or the Kiss Kiss podcast. Do you want to know?
Yeah.
What that stands for? Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
It's ridiculous, dude.
We could call it the double X.
That's ridiculous.
Double XL kind of thing.
I got one better. Right. Brandywine Brunch.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Brandywine Brunch, yeah.
Here's one, and this is again just off the top of my head.
Uh-huh.
Orkin' for the Weekend podcast. And then we got an intro song. Everybody's orkin' for the weekend. Or we could even change it. We could say, everybody's orkin' for the white hand.
Jiminy.
And just kind of roll that up a little bit.
This is ridiculous. Okay, we're getting there. Okay. We'll keep working on it.
Okay.
One of these days
we'll start one.
All right.
Yeah, so now we're headed into Maggot Unmasked, right? This whole scary like myth of this
someone who he was afraid of in his youth, just
is being we're gonna see it kind of
unmasked.
Right.
Yeah.
Boy, that was trouble.
Boy, you got that out.
Got it out.
So yeah, let's kind of finish through here. Farmer Maggot recognizes Pippin, right? I mean, that's who he recognizes, and so that's a good thing.
Calls him by his proper name.
Right. That's a good thing that he does. He sure does.
Peregrine too.
So don't have to worry about them being trespassers. Or if it were Frodo and Sam, I don't know that does he recognize Frodo?
He recognizes Frodo's
his
name.
It's been so long he doesn't recognize
not who he is,
right.
though. Yeah.
So it's a good thing old Pippin's there.
And he reveals too that he doesn't recognize his name from the memory of Frodo. It's from who just visited him.
That's right.
Which is also, because we don't know that initially, but that's also kind of frightening. It sort of mimics the whole interaction with the Gaffer.
Yeah,
a little bit,
right.
But it's happening in real time. So they describe the hobbits out here as just being a little different and be a little rougher. And it's amazing how even they're that much closer to the wild. We're that much further out of Hobbiton, and they're just a little crustier, man. The
right.
hobbits are hardier, and they're more leery, and they have dogs that they sick on people. Right, you don't see that in Hobbiton. That doesn't happen.
Right.
And so they're a little less trusting. They're a little less Hobbit-like. Really, they're kind of like blends between what I guess like a man Hobbit would be.
Right.
They live in houses above the ground.
House dwellers, yeah.
Right, not in holes in the ground. So even that's foreign. So just a lot of change. We're starting to. This is our real first, like cultural shift. Even though we're still within the Shire and they're still hobbits, it's still kind of like a subculture of hobbits.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. The further out we move, this is our first kind of big transformation with that, of a different type of people, even though they are hobbits. So.
Right. Well, I think somewhere in here we'll get to it where they start to talk about Baggins and the queer folk back in Hobbiton.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I love when that happens. It's just like whether you're from this part or what have you. It's just like if you're not here and with me within my view and sight, you're an oddball.
If you're not
strange.
from here, you're queer.
Right, you're queer. Yeah. And it just gets really kind of interesting. Like, even though they make mention of this big, even though they're in Buckland here, or they're near the Great River, right? They're even still a little bit leery of the water. He makes a mention of that like later on, and just what it attracts and what it brings. Obviously it's a way to transport goods and for people to come in on and stuff. So it doesn't always bring the best of folk.
Right.
So
right. And people. I mean, we see even later on the Fellowship uses it as a road to escape. So you have other less than savory folk using it for the same reason. So
right.
Great point.
Yep. So anyways, Farmer Maggot meets Pippin, talks to him for a little bit, and then he introduces Frodo and Sam, but he introduces Frodo as Frodo Baggins. Yeah. And that is sort of what catches Farmer Maggot's attention, is that last name. And so he gives him a sharp glance, and then sort of they go on and talk for a little bit. And they remark about the weather and different things. Did I miss something here?
But the name of we were introduced to his dogs too. Grip. Oh yeah. Fang and Wolf.
Yeah.
There's a reason he was probably afraid of those dogs, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Some pretty aggressive names there.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so he actually says, though, he kind of laughs about when he's talking about the dogs and everything. He had called the dogs, right?
Yeah.
And he says they won't harm you.
Yeah.
Not unless I tell them to.
Right. Right.
So.
Which isn't really putting Frodo at ease.
No, not at all.
Hopefully you don't remember me. He's thinking this whole time, like, please don't remember the mushrooms. Please don't remember the mushrooms.
Yeah. And that was the thing. Did we mention that before? Is that basically Frodo admits to his friends, like, I used to get caught stealing mushrooms here all the time. So we might have brushed over that, but that's right. That's sort of the whole thing is that he's fear. Scared to death.
Right. And it's almost kind of funny because you think of like the chapter name as being, I mean, if you like mushrooms, that's a cool thing. A shortcut to mushrooms. Let's get there. Right. But it's actually this really like negative memory that he has of being caught for trying to nab some mushrooms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So, all right. So they are invited by Farmer Maggot into his home. He wants to talk to his home.
Yeah. They Mrs. Maggot gives them an excellent dinner. They talk about imbibing in some of the finest beer they'd ever have. Pippin found himself more than compensated for missing the golden perch.
Right.
So Pippin's feeling good. He's like, all right, well, Sam sipped his beer suspiciously. I love this dude. He had a natural mistrust of the inhabitants of other parts of the Shire. And also, he was disposed to be quick friends with anyone who had beaten his master however long ago.
Yeah.
And that's right. We learned that Maggot had beaten Frodo.
Yeah, he was a youngin.
Straight up whipped him. Whipped his hide, tanned his hide.
Yeah. Probably deserved it.
Yeah. It is also kind of, I'm sorry, this line real quick where he says, Mr. Baggins, is it? Come inside. We must have a talk. Mm-hmm. And so we're still anticipating as audience, like, what's he going to be talking about?
Right. Yeah.
It does never sound good. Anytime someone just doesn't have the talk and they say, we got to have a talk later, it's not a good talk.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
So anyways, so they go on in there and basically we kind of learned that, forget how I know it's still pouring out down rain out there and I'm nervous. Lightning is happening too. Jeez. But he starts to kind of talk about, he wants to tell them why that name caught his attention, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he wants to kind of share with them that he was approached by one of the most queer folk he's ever seen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So again, we've got a scary moment where we encounter Maggot and we don't know what kind of interaction we're going to have, right? We're on edge there. And then he invites us in and we're put at ease because we've got this great meal, some beer, some good conversation. Starts off as lighthearted conversation, and then we're back into like another anxious moment of what's he going to tell us. So yeah, he wants to tell where he'd heard that name so quickly. I didn't recognize it from I didn't recognize you from the mushrooms or your name from stealing the mushrooms. It's from something else.
Right. Yeah. That's
someone else.
Right, and that's what gives him that look. He starts to also kind of ask about which way they had come from because that was important to Farmer Maggot. He thought y'all should have seen this guy.
Yeah.
But come to find out that they didn't come from that way of the lane. They had come across his field.
So just another narrow chance too.
I know. Super close.
It takes me back to when Frodo was leaving.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right, and then that Black Rider was just over the hill.
Bag shot. Yeah.
And you could hear the weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so close, narrow escape.
Yep.
It's also kind of cool too how oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, I got this part underlined. They're eating dinner and he says, "And you, Mr. Baggins, though I dare say you still like mushrooms." He laughed. Yes, I recognize the name. I recollect the time when young Frodo Baggins was one of the worst young rascals in Buckland. Mm-hmm. So he laughs. So this petrifying memory that Frodo has, Farmer Maggot just kind of laughs it off, and so perspective for him, it was just this little kid.
Right, he probably did that to every little youngin that was running around getting.
And he probably had fun with it too. And let's be realistic. Was it as bad as Frodo thought? Probably not.
No,
probably not.
No, it probably was not.
You know how those childhood memories, they get blown out of proportion, and they're not really what you remembered.
Right.
Yeah.
And so eventually they do kind of coax out this statement. Farmer Maggot's like telling the story, and he's got an audience, so he's relishing this. He's drawing this out a little bit, right? Yeah. But so let's see. The writer is there. He's talking about this. Quickest way up the hill. He took one. He was talking about Grip coming out and taking one sniff of this guy.
Again,
and just
sniffing.
The sniffing, right? And just rolls right back inside,
Yeah.
But I think this is the Black Rider talking here. I come from yonder, he said, slow and stiff like, pointing back over the back west. Yeah, over my fields, if you please. Have you seen Baggins? Right, is what he asked. And he asked in a queer voice, and he bent down towards me. I could not see any face, for his hood fell down so low, and I felt a sort of shiver down my back. But I did not see why he should come riding over my land so bold. Be off, I said. There's no Baggins here. You're in the wrong part of the Shire. You had better go back west to Hobbiton. But you can go by the road this time. And then he answers back, Baggins has left. In a whisper. He is coming. He is not far. I wish to find him. If he passes with you, tell me. I will come back with gold.
It's interesting too how, and I understand why they did it in the films, because you have less time. You need to make them really imposing and ominous right off the bat. But this is a weird
feel for the writer.
Yeah, man. Yeah. They're willing to cut deals. They're not as forceful, and it goes back to what you said in the previous chapter, reread. You were talking about how they can't, and because of like being scattered off by the elves, they don't want people to know they're there. They want to come out and get what they want. Right. But they don't want to they don't want to be so bold as to alerting everyone of who they really are.
I think it's all in secrecy as much as they can.
Absolutely.
It's to rebuild their forces to get these things done.
Right.
If they're stopped, I mean, he's been stopped before.
Right.
And so he needs to amass. We weren't going to mention his. I'm not going to mention his name, but there's a reason these writers are being secret about this. Yes. So who must not be named. Oh, I'm just kidding. That's a different podcast.
Oh, sorry. That's what you're flicking at.
Sorry.
Yeah. I will come back with gold. Very, very interesting.
So yeah, that's disturbing, right? I mean, so it's kind of confirmed. I mean,
and Frodo's kind of thinking. He has this moment. It says here, Frodo sat for a moment looking at the fire, but his only thought was, how on earth would they reach the ferry?
Yeah.
Again, just the everything's kind of closing in around him and making the road very, very impassable. I don't know what to think, he said at last. I have this part hearted, and I can't remember. I'm going to just read it because I'm sure it's pretty cool. It's from Maggot, so he's awesome.
Yeah.
Then I'll tell you what to think, said Maggot. You should never have gone mixing yourself up with Hobbiton folk, Mr. Frodo. Here you go. Folk are queer up there. Sam stirred in his chair and looked at the farmer with an unfriendly eye. Sam's bristling up. He doesn't like this. Right. But you were always a reckless lad. When I heard you had left the brandy bucks and gone off to that old Mr. Bilbo, I said that you were going to find trouble. Mark my words. This all comes of those strange doings of Mr. Bilbo's. His money was His money was got him in strange fashion in foreign parts, they say. Maybe there is some that want to know what has become of the gold and jewels that he buried in the hill of Hobbiton, as I hear. So the legend has even reached all the way out here that's what Bilbo had stored up there. And it's ironic too that he's accusing the wrong thing, but not the wrong person. I mean, really, it's because of something he brought back on his journey, but it's not jewels and gold. It's the ring.
Right. Yep.
Right. And that's kind of what's causing all this.
Right. Yeah.
Frodo said nothing. The shrewd guesses of the farmer were rather disconcerting, and that troubles him. He's like, wow, okay. I mean, there is some truth to that.
Yeah. And I think it makes the load heavier. It's the idea that, there's something evil here in these parts. And it's endangering people in the Shire. Right. And it's time, you got to get it out.
And a realistic comment from the farmer, but not necessarily an uplifting one. And Frodo's already feeling kind of beat down, and he's like, come on, man.
But again, they don't know what's at stake here. They don't really know what's going on. And they're speaking, truth in their own from their own point of view.
And Maggot says you should stay here. Right. If any of these black fellows come after you again, I'll deal with them. Mm-hmm. I'll say you're dead, or you've left the Shire, or anything you like. Mm-hmm. So here again, dude. One moment something really kind of negative and hard to deal with. The next, hope.
Right.
It's just back, and it's a seesaw.
Well, that's what Farmer Maggot was when we first met him. Was this, scary old guy? Right. Now he's giving advice and willing to protect and help you.
Right. And the whole chapter has been that. Just keeping us on the edge of not knowing what's going to come next, which is perfect for the rest of the journey. So, that's got to give him some peace of mind too, that he's got Farmer Maggot's going to be looking out for him. Like if any of these guys come back, he'll stick up for him. He'll look out for him.
But what an inquisitive guy, though, because he realizes right away he's reading their facial expressions. He knows there's more going on here, and he realizes I can see you have ideas of your own, And he goes on to say, perhaps you're thinking it won't be too easy to get to the ferry without being caught. And Frodo's, I was thinking that, and and so he's like, thank you. For your kindness. I've been in terror of you and your dogs for over 30 years, Farmer Maggot. Though you may laugh to hear it, it's a pity, for I've missed a good friend. And I just, man, dude.
And now I'm sorry to leave so soon.
Right.
Beautiful. And that's the, it's a lesson Tolkien's teaching us, right? But it's also a common experience we all have.
Yeah.
We all have that that sense of, and we're going to talk about it in a minute here.
Yeah, we
that common or that common experience of someone that we feared for so long, and then we come to this realization later that really there was nothing to be afraid of, and actually they were a quite kind person, and we spent all that time missing out on a friendship.
Yeah.
And it seems to always come when you're never going to see that person again, doesn't it? It almost always seems to happen that way.
Oh yeah, it does. Yep. He didn't expect to see Farmer, Maggot here.
Again.
No,
didn't want to.
No,
had no desire to.
Nope.
Yeah.
And in his, hour of need,
Yeah.
there he is, right? And he's actually, this turns out to be this guy that's willing to help, and there's a softer side that he never knew. It's the perspective of a child,
and just just crazy. And then just being surprised with that again.
But anyway, so to get to the to kind of plow through here, Farmer Maggot decides, hey, look, guys, listen, I have an idea.
Ride.
You need a ride, but I want you to stay here. You know what I mean? I want you to stay here with me for a little bit. Let's eat something. So he's got his sons and his daughters. They come in. They have a good hearty meal, and he goes, I've got a wagon, and I can take you down to the ferry, and we'll cover the lamplight, and we'll get you there, and that'll be safer for you guys. So. Does Farmer Maggot, I think he met the writer. There's a chill that comes with that. There's a change in the atmosphere. There's a change in the weather. There's some weird weather going on here. He has to feel that they're in some danger. He has to be able to see the looks on their faces, and yet he's willing just to say, I got you guys.
No questions asked kind of thing too. He doesn't.
No, you don't need to tell me much.
Right.
You're in need. I can tell that. Let me get you fed here, and let me get you on your way.
And again, the provision of exactly what they need happening right when they need it to, despite all odds.
The more I think about this family, like his family, and especially when you find out what his wife does and the different things, they're just a good, wholesome family. I wonder what that conversation was like between Farmer Maggot and his wife in the back room.
Oh yeah,
when they're getting ready for dinner and stuff, and he tells his wife that something's up and he needs to help him out.
I'm sorry, man. Wouldn't that make riveting film or television?
Oh my gosh, dude!
Set it in the Shire, baby. I want to know all about the hobbits.
I'm telling you, man. When I was reading this today, I thought to myself, he went back there and had this conversation. I didn't think of that until the mushrooms come out, here at the end or whatever. But that's all set up right here. Yeah. The conversation's happening. I'm sure his name has been mentioned. Frodo is a little bit famous with Bilbo. Right. He is. He's well known. Yeah, the Baggins. So I'm sure that Farmer Maggot has mentioned his name before. Oh, that rascal used to run around here and steal my mushrooms.
And he came from this area,
right?
Yeah. It was his old home. Yeah.
So, but anyways, I think to kind of cut to the chase here.
Yeah, wrap it up.
He gets them in the wagon. They've got about 5 miles or more from Farmer Maggot's lane to the ferry.
Not even a short ride.
No.
And again, we hear this hearing, right? They're straining to hear above the creaking of the wagon wheel for any kind of sound.
There you go.
They start hearing this clopping of first there's no one on the road, and then they start hearing this clopping of a rider approaching. And they're of course thinking, again, we're on the edge of our seat. Who's this going to be? Obviously, it's Black Rider. What if they're discovered? What if Maggot sells them out? You'd hope he wouldn't, and he's proven that he wouldn't, but you're still kind of not totally sure.
Right. I mean, here, just like you said, this line sets it up. There was now no breath of wind stirring. All right. So that is activating your sense of sound and hearing, right? The night was still and quiet.
Yeah, which magnifies everything.
Yeah, it does. Yep. Right. And a chill was in the air. I'm there. I'm there.
I know. I've seen you looking out the window. It's freaking me out.
I'm there right now, guys. So they went without lights and took it slowly. I mean, geez, man. If there's something scarier than being out in the dark, it's being out in the dark without a light.
Turning your flashlight off.
Nothing. You know. I mean, what the heck?
Right. And then if you come across someone on the road, it looks suspicious, right? You don't have your lights on.
Yeah.
Why don't you have your lights on?
Yeah.
So then we figure out who that rider is. Who is it?
Oh, Mary.
It's Mary Brandybuck.
Yeah.
Exactly the guy they want to see.
What's cool about that is he looks like a rider. He's got a scarf wrapped around him to keep the fog out. So there's
how cool that would have looked so cool in the movie.
Oh my gosh, I know. I was envisioning it. And I was just sort of like, wow.
Yeah.
The suspense that's building right there. It's like, and then boy.
The reveal of it, being your friend, the one you want to see.
Right. So, Mr. Mary, he cried. Yes, of course. Who did you think it was? Said Mary, coming forward. So he comes out of the mist, and their fears subsided. And
he suddenly, to diminish to an ordinary hobbit size.
Right. So,
I love before that too. There's a line where Sam's talking to him. They're still in. Maggot dismounts, and you can hear the clip clopping. And he says, "You better be hidden, Mr. Frodo," said Sam anxiously. "You get down in the wagon and cover up with the blankets, and we'll send this rider to the rightabouts." Again, Samwise the Brave. This is who he is now. Right? Dude, he's ready to face down a black rider with no second thought.
Here's the thing. The other person, too, that speaks up is, "Now then," said the farmer. Right? And then he goes on to say, he starts striding forward. "Don't you come a step nearer. Mm-hmm. What do you want and where are you going?" Right?
Crazy.
That's the farmer. That's Farmer Maggot speaking.
Right.
So both he and Sam are ready to go toe to toe here.
Man.
It just kind of, again, it's showing you more about Farmer Maggot. It's just he is actually a really cool character that I didn't care too much about really until I've done this reread now.
Oh yeah.
And you and I were thinking about Farmer Maggots in our own life.
Yeah.
And who are those? And we're going to talk about those in just a minute.
Right.
But to wrap it up, guys, Mrs. Maggot.
Parting gift.
Parting gift here.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, he's concerned. Farmer Maggot's concerned. I got to get back, guys. Mm-hmm. The wife is going to be worried. We had a talk in the back, and this is not normal.
She told him not to go. She said, "You be careful yourself, Maggot. Don't go arguing with any foreigners and come straight back."
Right.
She was looking out for him too. So
it's been a queer day, and no mistake.
See, and this is something else that it does too, is it breaks down these barriers, these prejudices they had towards other people, even of their own race.
Yeah.
Right. Queer folk out there in the East. Queer folk by the water. They live in weird houses. They're kind of rough around the edges. And it totally breaks that down. They see, wow, these people might be a little more faithful and fearless than we are.
Right. Yep.
In the heart of the Shire. They're not so queer after all. Or maybe they're queer in a good way. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Let me just finish this chapter here.
Yeah, sorry.
He just says, I'll read the whole thing here. Suddenly he produced a large basket from under the seat. "I was nearly forgetting," he said. "Mrs. Maggot, put this up for Mr. Baggins, with her compliments." He handed it down and moved off, followed by a chorus of thanks and good nights. They watched the pale rings of light round his lantern as they dwindled into the foggy night. Suddenly, Frodo laughed. From the covered basket he held, the scent of mushrooms was rising.
Amazing.
And
just a great way to end a chapter.
Oh, I know, especially the emotional ride that we were on to kind of have him laughing at the end of all of that.
Yeah, right.
Now, hold on a second. Laughing with the smell of mushrooms in a foggy, dark, on the road. We are not safe at all, friends.
No.
It's kind of eerie, right? But puts us in good spirits.
It's so funny that it's not really a shortcut. It makes for a long day, and the mushrooms we thought that held a negative connotation end up being something that almost kind of redeems that memory, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump into some more cool connections, and then we got some good Farmer Maggot stories to tell, I believe.
Buddy. Just a couple here. I just said Farmer Maggot is someone who we anticipate with great fear and anxiety, ends up becoming an ally and a friend. And that's kind of contrasted with the Shire and the Black Riders. So the Shire is a place we've held as a safe harbor, ultimately makes for more treacherous start to our adventure than we'd anticipated, having been penetrated further than even the wise could see by the most evil forces. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of an interesting comparison there.
Yeah, for sure.
So we want to do a little special section called My Farmer Maggot.
Yeah.
This chapter wasn't long, but it got us thinking, right, Ez?
It really did. Yeah.
So I think we can all probably pinpoint like a quote unquote Farmer Maggot in our life.
Yeah.
So Ez and I narrowed it down to
and I haven't heard Lane. I have no idea who.
And I don't know who yours is.
Right. We might not know. I don't know if you'll know mine, but that's okay.
Yeah, you'll know mine. It's gonna be cool. I'm excited about
this. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. So mine. This is interesting. This lady was feared. This lady was
Mrs. Maggot.
Yeah. and she was scary.
Okay.
She was scary. And I was so worried in elementary school that I was going to have her as a teacher. I was praying. I was literally hoping I'd get the other fourth grade teacher.
Right.
And I was also worried because it was going to be a fourth-fifth split. Mm-hmm. I was going to be in with fifth graders too. Mm-hmm. So nervous. I was having a panic attack.
As a fourth, fifth split.
Yeah. So I had fourth and fifth grade. We were in there together at the same time. So we learned certain subjects together, and then
the whole year.
Yeah, the whole year.
Oh, and that's crazy.
It is crazy. They don't do that anymore. I don't know that's and I'm being dead serious. Yeah. What would happen is
was this in Kentucky or Ohio?
This is in Ohio. Yeah.
Just kidding.
So, but when we would split up, sometimes the fifth graders would go by themselves to learn something else that we weren't learning yet, which was, But her name was Mrs. Pfeiffer, and it eventually she was, I believe her first husband had passed away, and
it's kind of rough around the edges, sort of.
Yeah, perhaps, but very interesting. She reminds me of my mom. Yeah. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I would not have said this in elementary school. I wouldn't have said it in middle school. I wouldn't have said it in high school. I didn't say it until I was an adult. And I had to think that's what happens here to Frodo, right? Mm-hmm. And eventually you might know her as Mrs. Crumb. I don't know if you remember Mrs. Crumb from middle school. So here was something that just irritated me to all, So I had her in fourth grade, right? And she was still around in fifth grade. I went on to a fifth grade class, right? But it wasn't a split anymore, which was interesting. That just had to happen because of numbers or whatever.
You had her in fifth grade.
But man, I'll never forget, she grabbed my friend Michael Canterbury one day. She grabbed him by the shirt collar, pulled him out of the hallway, scared the daylights out of the rest. I don't know what he was doing, but
probably something to deserve it.
Something, though. I'm sure he did. Yeah. I'll never forget this other kid, Danny Dilger. Man, she grabbed him too, and just would go off on people.
Yeah,
just set us straight.
Yeah.
We were getting stuff done in that class. Yeah. Let me tell you, you do that to one or two kids and word spreads out on the playground, don't cross Mrs. Pfeiffer. Okay. Yeah. And, one of my favorite things I remember doing in her class was science experiments. So we had the water, we were doing erosion and the effects of water and soil and sand and stuff. It was stuff, man. It was fun stuff, but man, she would sit behind that desk and she had them spectacles. Wow. She could see everything.
Wow.
And she was just mean. I mean, as a snake.
Yeah.
Mean.
Yeah.
And
you didn't have a lot of laughs in that class.
No, did not have a whole lot of laughs.
Yeah.
My mom loved her for some reason. You know, my mom loved her.
Yeah.
And I think my mom would even come in and volunteer in the class sometimes. And I'm like, Mom, what is wrong with you? She don't you see what she's doing to us?
Yeah.
And so anyways. So I move on finally, for 2 years there, it was just torture because she'd be on playground duty. She'd still call us out there. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Couldn't hold hands with a girl on the playground when Miss Pfeiffer was out on duty. Okay. So probably a good thing. Cooties were running.
They were rampant.
So, especially at Columbia Elementary. All right, let me tell you,
it gets in the water there.
Oh, good Lord!
I'm pretty sure.
Well, we were next to that big old smokestack. I don't know what all was
which
happening.
is now a park, a beautiful park.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, then I go on to sixth grade.
Yeah.
And things are looking okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Move on to seventh grade.
Yeah.
Things are okay.
Yeah.
Come eighth grade, she moves up to be my eighth grade teacher.
She's following you, dude. She's following you.
She's my eighth grade teacher now.
Yeah.
And I'm like. We are all of us kids from Columbia are everyone's just oh, she seems really nice and stuff to start the school year. Oh yeah, give it 2 weeks.
Yeah, we know the truth.
Give it 2 weeks, and then it was just people were coming to. She's so hard, but mix us deals. Yeah. I was like, I told you guys,
Yeah.
So, anyways, she was that type of teacher. She also would call people. She would make jokes. She would just really sarcastic, but to us it was cruel.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of who she was. And she followed us, is what we always said. Mike and I would always say, she followed us, man. She's going to come up in high school, man. She's going to be up there.
Yeah, when you're a senior. Yeah. Every 4 years.
Oh, man, I thought for sure. We were and the crazy thing is we were, all of high school. This is the year. This is the year. She's coming up. And, anyways, so So anyways, I get through high school, and for some reason I decided to become a teacher, right? Wow. Yeah. And so I got to roll back to my old middle school for student teaching. Didn't. Yes, I did.
Get out of here.
And you're not going to believe this. And so I'm with, I think it's Mrs. Sanders or whatever, but I had to do some observations and stuff. And I just had to schedule them with different teachers. The first teacher she decided to schedule me with, she's like, yeah, I don't know if you know her, Mrs. Crumb.
Yeah.
Mrs. Crumb. So
I know her.
Mrs. Pfeiffer had gotten married to Mr. Crumb. And I think that helped a little bit because 8th grade wasn't as bad as it was in 4th grade.
Okay.
But I'm just kidding. But
it can relieve some tension.
I go in there and, man, same anxiety on those kids' faces that was in mine.
Yeah.
But then I start listening to her lesson. I start listening to her teach. Hilarious.
Yeah.
The jokes she was making about those kids, and they would walk in and she would embarrass. I mean, just like straight up embarrass this kid for being late and talk about, who he was with and how long he was with this girl. And, it would just stop the whole class. And like, he wasn't late the next day. Let me tell you, stuff like that. But then, you start to kind of realize just, I don't know, I saw then a twinkle, like you would see the facade of like hard ass teacher, right, at the in the front of the classroom, and then as she's turning to go back to her desk, me being the student teacher saw the twinkle in her eye, saw the sort of the grin that said, I'm enjoying this. I may have looked like I was just ticked off,
right?
But boy, I love these kids, and this is something. Every day they bring something new.
Yeah.
And then I got to talk to her afterwards or whatever, and she was just like, Ezra Kirk, what are you doing back here? And I thought I got rid of you years ago.
And you said you were following me.
That's what I told her. And I said, you followed us. I was like, we were so upset. And she was just like, I know, I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, and then I started telling the story about when she grabbed Michael Canterbury by the shirt collar or whatever. And she said, you kids don't remember anything, right?
Yeah, right.
She was just like, that never happened.
Yeah.
And as I think back on it, I don't think I ever witnessed it happen. Mike told me. I think Mike told me that. And so, like, the rumor grows, man, so.
Oh, my gosh. It's funny.
No, it's just one of those things where, and she's such a sweet lady, too. And, like, her husband plays the hammer dulcimer, and she would bring him in.
Oh, wow.
So there were even moments in elementary school where I remember he came in and played for us, and we were, like, mesmerized.
Yeah.
And
we saw Elvin right there, the hammer dulcimer.
Well, we saw her in like this new light. She really, to me, was like a Professor McGonagall. Like, I don't know if you've ever read Harry Potter, but like Professor McGonagall is very
hard nosed,
very hard nosed, but has such a soft spot for her kids in the profession.
Tough love,
and it's harder on her own kids and expects more out of them. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's when I was thinking of my farmer maggot, someone who I later on in life, came across and was like, wow, you are blowing me away.
Yeah.
So, because she was so cool and so chill and just, I was talking to her and she was just dropping all sorts of knowledge on me and funny stories and just carefree, had a good view on life. I don't know, so.
Yeah. That's an old school approach. I think, I don't know, man. I think we need a little more of that. Personally, I think. Yeah. I think sometimes like we're so used to and we crave so much just constant positive feedback. Yeah. And maybe half the time it's true and maybe half the time it's not. And I don't know. I always say I want criticism, but then I wonder how much I've just gotten soft and can't really handle criticism anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But really that's the thing that helps you grow the most is when and like, so if we're teachers, right? And so we're sort of evaluated regularly.
Yeah.
Sometimes once a year, sometimes several times a year. And I'm always kind of wanting more things to work on. Mm-hmm. It's like today, it's just all like, it's a bunch of positive things you did, but it's like, all right, but what did I do terribly? Mm-hmm. And so teachers like that would have drawn that out and teasing that kid and he was never late again.
Right. But also was critical though. I do remember being sort of harsh. I remember when I was in her math class, just, she expected better. Yeah. She knew I didn't practice. She knew I hadn't gone home and did my homework.
Yeah.
Why do you think you're good? She even said to me at one point, she said something about, I would never forget this. She said, you're going to fail tomorrow on the quiz. And I was like, what? And she knew it would. I was like, no, I had kind of a bit of not much. Well, I kind of had an attitude there. I was sort of like,
because that's your reaction.
I'm not going to fail this. Are you kidding me? So I went home, studied my butt off.
Yeah.
Came back in the next day or whatever, and failed. No, did much better than I thought I was going to do, and
she used that to motivate you.
She did.
Yeah.
So it's called old school, but it worked.
Definitely.
So let's hear yours.
Okay, so mine is. Ez actually knows my farmer maggot.
I'm interested to hear this.
We were, Ez and I, for those of you who don't know, we're both in a little organization called Orchestra. All right?
Yeah.
We both played instruments. I was a cellist.
You were.
And Ez played the viola.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And so anyway, I was in orchestra. I didn't necessarily... so you take that test in... 5th grade, right? That musical test, and they find out if you could be suited to play an instrument. Or they did back in the day when we were in elementary.
Yep.
It was a screener test to see who had musical abilities. And as you guys know from our singing, and even just kind of our timing within the podcast, Ez and I are savants when it comes to music.
Right.
We're not, but we do have some music ability.
It's been
just
said.
Not when it comes to singing Tolkien. Yeah. So anyway, whatever. It was silly, but my parents were like, well, you need to learn an instrument. And I was like, fine. And we had just had that screener thing in orchestra. You could be in orchestra, I guess it was 4th grade. So maybe the test was in 3rd
grade. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whatever, I'll play an orchestra. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of like, that's fine, whatever. And not really thinking about the work that you had to put into actually playing an instrument,
right.
Nor understanding that my parents were serious and that I'd have to keep doing this for an extended period of time until they said, like, you don't have to do it anymore.
Right.
So I kind of entered into it with like not understanding what orchestra was going to be. So I play the cello, have Mrs. Lawson in elementary school, wonderful lady, very sweet, always saying kind things, thought I was funny, which, she's angelic for that reason.
Wow, you had the opposite experience I did.
And then headed into 4th and 5th grade, was an orchestra, and I'm like, okay, I can quit this now. And Mom and Dad are like, no, you've got to keep doing this for a while. I was like, come on. They wouldn't never tell me, at least to my memory, I didn't know when I could stop playing.
Right.
So going to middle school and going to orchestra, I'm the only guy in my grade level, which I understand in orchestra that should be... Or in high school or middle school, that should be a really good thing, but I didn't see it as such a good thing.
You were a weird kid,
surrounded by ladies, but I wanted some, guys to hang out with because I didn't really have going through elementary. I didn't have a lot of really close friends at all, so I missed that kind of camaraderie thing with other
when you moved here,
other boys
and stuff.
Right? Yeah, I was lived in Chicago till I was like 1st grade, and then we moved here, and then moved a couple times in Ohio. So I didn't have childhood friends.
Right. Yeah.
So we got into middle school, and Mr. Lawson was the conductor for the middle school orchestra.
That's right.
Mrs. Lawson helped, but she ran more of the elementaries, and he was kind of in charge of middle school, high school.
Right. Dude
was amazing, right? But and here's where he's not purely a farmer maggot, but for me, he kind of is. He and I got along sometimes. And then other times, it was amazing because he would like be laughing at me, and then we'd be having fun, and then I think he would realize that I was getting him off track. Yeah. And he'd snap. He'd like flip his switch, and or maybe I would cross a line, and he would get frustrated with me, and so he was more of my farmer maggot because of my misinterpretation of him, probably. Yeah. I think if I would have been more mature. And
you're supposed to be mature when you're in orchestra. How they let us in, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
But go ahead.
But like, if I would have been, and obviously that's how farmer maggot stories are. If you're more mature, you appreciate someone. But I definitely didn't appreciate him. He'd frustrate me. He'd call me out for never practicing, but I had the attitude of, I don't practice, I don't care. And he'd be like, you could be first cello if you actually tried. And I'd be like, so what? And deep down I was like, but then time would go on and I'd be like, man, maybe I should really practice. Maybe I should try to become first chair.
Right.
And so anyway, we had this kind of thing. And then it all ended in 8th grade. 8th graders are supposed to go help play for the graduation ceremony for the high school.
Yep.
And I must not have understood it as a requirement. So I didn't show up.
God, What a jerk.
So it was pretty douchey. I think I avoided telling my parents so they wouldn't have to take me because I knew they would. And I hated concerts.
Gosh, man.
I sweat my face off. It was really stressful. It's like you have one time you practice and mess around all this time, and then you have one shot in a concert to get it right. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, you know who messed up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, who was on an up bow when you're supposed to be on the down bow? You douche. The visuals are all off. So I didn't go, and I remember going back, and he kind of took me aside and was like, gave me this big serious talk about how disappointed he was and how he let how I let the entire orchestra down, and how they needed a cello and I was the only cello and I wasn't there, and how I think I remember, maybe he probably didn't communicate this, but I felt like I let the entire graduating class down. It was this big dramatic thing.
I'll be honest, you did.
And I know that they didn't.
I was a freshman.
They didn't toss their caps that year. I'll tell you that.
We didn't have a single cello player.
They said Lane, not here.
Yeah.
Well, Clint Ingersoll was probably around.
Yeah, we had a bunch of cello. We had a bunch of cello players.
But it's
whatever.
So anyway, and then I quit orchestra in high school. I wasn't in an orchestra, and there was always kind of these weird vibes. If I'd ever I didn't really interact with them much anyway. But if I ever happened to, it was awkward or whatever. So
because your sister was in it.
Yeah, Hillary was still in orchestra.
She was in it for all of high school.
That's right.
So
yeah, good point. So anyway, we I forgot she was in high school. What a terrible brother.
Oh, I remember.
So years later, I'm in college. I'd almost forgotten about the entire orchestra experience in my life. Yeah. And actually, in college, I was like, man, why didn't I appreciate that more? Why didn't I actually take up ownership of this instrument? It's such a ironically, it's my favorite instrument to listen to. I love the cello.
It's beautiful.
The range is incredible. If you ever listen to anything Yo-Yo Ma's ever done, mind blowing. Whether he's written it and composed it, or whether he's just playing someone else's stuff, it's I don't know. It's a soulful instrument, and I kind of threw that opportunity away, and I realized that in college. And so anyway, I'm getting ready to graduate, and my grandpa's coming into town for the commencement or whatever, and we were kind of full at our house, so we went to the Mount Vernon Inn to see if we could get a room, whatever. And we go in, and I go with mom and dad, 'cause I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine, I'll go with you, whatever. And or it might have been high school, I can't remember what I was graduating from, whatever. Anyway, Mr. Lawson's in there, because they ran it for a while, and my initial reaction was, oh shoot,
right.
This is just one of those awkward, and it was like Frodo with Farmer Maggot. I thought I'd never have to interact with him again.
Right.
Never have to talk to him again.
Right.
No problem. Well, much like what we just read with Frodo, asked me a bunch of questions about how I was.
Yeah.
Had great conversation with him about a lot of different things. Yeah. And it was like he never even remembered any of those memories that I had that were really bad from orchestra. It didn't really let him down. It didn't really, it wasn't as big of a deal to him as he,
at the time,
as I took it, I guess. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that he didn't care that I
right.
wasn't in an orchestra anymore.
Right.
I still had that kind of feeling, because I really liked him a lot, and I didn't want to have the feeling that I let him down. So anyway, just an amazing time. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, damn it, Lane, you should have stayed in orchestra. You shouldn't have messed around so much. You should have appreciated that opportunity. Right. And I really felt to myself like I had missed out on a mentor friend type relationship with him. I never told him that. He actually passed away a few years ago. And so I never got to tell him that. But he was an incredible guy. Knew his stuff. Continued to play bass.
Yep.
He would play with the Messiah at our college we went to, Mount Vernon Nazarene University. He would come in and play for that. He would even guest play for different orchestras. Ran an incredible. So orchestra is kind of at least in Mount Vernon anyway, in small areas, that's a dying thing. Doesn't exist anymore. You're in band or you don't play an instrument. And looking back, he did an amazing job of fostering a group of people to play instruments that are antiquated and no longer appreciated. I remember. Do you remember the field trip where he took us to the Columbus Symphony Orchestra?
Absolutely.
And then we went to the sheet music store.
Absolutely, I do.
Right.
Lane, I'll tell you, some of my best memories were from orchestra.
Yeah.
And I can't believe like back in the day, we would have never admitted that.
No.
But I'm telling
you. No, because people made fun of us for being in an orchestra.
Yes,
like even when band kids make fun of you, nothing against band kids, but when band kids make fun of you,
right,
you're on the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
Or whatever of the pecking order. Yeah.
Dude, that's a good one though, because I kind of had like a similar experience with him, and I just have to give one shout out to him because he is someone who changed my life and is a mentor and was a big deal in our community.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm so glad that I got to have the conversations that I had with him after high school.
Yeah.
And to see him at Star Trek premieres.
Oh, he was obsessed with Star Trek.
My last name's Kirk, and he would just talk about Captain Kirk and things. And I mean,
and how about the music he would have us play? He would incorporate like movie themes that we enjoyed, along with like Haydn and Bach and all the good stuff. Mm-hmm. So
just an awesome guy, and also his wife too, because she took over and things. Just amazing. A good family,
amazing,
really.
Yeah, and their kids are incredible. So Mr. Chuck Lawson is my farmer maggot. I wish I would have appreciated my time with him more. But that last conversation I did have with him, I felt like Frodo talking to. I felt that moment where he and it's. It's not exactly the same, but it's my version. Like that moment where he takes that basket and he smells those mushrooms.
Absolutely.
That's the feeling I had, talking to him that day, and it felt like, everything was all right.
Yep.
And that's how you want everything to just to be okay.
Yep.
So
I get that.
Yeah, but he's an incredible guy. I knew you'd like that because you had a relationship with him too, and he could be kind of a passionate dude, so he could be up and down pretty quick. You know what I mean? So
he and I got into it a few times, man,
and I think especially with the guys. Yeah. I think his relationship with the guys was all that way. I think the girls were all kind of like his daughters.
Yeah.
And the guys were all kind of like, just could be frustrating, which we could be.
We were. We absolutely
are.
We are. Yeah. But man, last thing about that, every day around periods, like I think it's like halfway through the day.
Yeah.
I hear the orchestra coming up through the vents in my office.
No way.
Yeah.
To this day.
That
is amazing.
And I'm telling you, I sometimes will just stop whatever I'm doing and just listen.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it. It takes me back.
That's magical,
dude.
Man.
It is magical. And I'm telling you, man, for some reason, I've never forgotten him. And around the time that I went to his funeral when he passed away, I always think about him and just the impact that he had. But there you go. Mentors.
Rest in peace, Chuck Lawson. Yeah.
Farmer maggots.
So here's something that we could do is we could do another thread. And you guys could share we might not have time to share them all on a podcast, but you could share out your farmer maggot.
I would love to read those.
I would love it too.
Yes.
Who is your farmer maggot? What relationship do you have or person in your life parallels?
We'll put that on the thread for this podcast, and you guys can share that and go to town, because it's nice to honor and almost remember those people, and whether they're still alive or not alive or what have you. It's just I think it's good to do that.
I agree.
I mean, even if we could right now, like I'm actually thinking as I told that story, I'd love to reach back out to Mrs. Crumb.
Yeah.
And see how, I don't know if she's even, I have no idea. I've not ever, I don't know what happened to her, and I don't know if she's still teaching or retired or moved on or what have you. So anyways, interesting stuff.
Come shadow you for a day.
Yeah.
Follow you again.
Oh God. Yeah. Lord. All right, guys. So now we are into, the Bywater Post.
Snowed under again, my friend.
So good though.
You guys are weighing us down.
We love it. Such a good feeling. And I'm gonna plow. We got some stories to read a little bit, so I'm gonna plow through some of the reviews we got on iTunes.
Yep.
Quick plug: if you guys want, we're giving Pop Socket giveaways. I Eat Tacos was our first winner. Lane is gonna pick a winner this week, I think.
Yeah. So when you hear this, it will have already been.
Already
been picked. But I'm getting ready to do the second set of 10.
Second set of 10. This is on iTunes.
Yep.
And then I'll do the third set of 10 and so on up to 50, if we get there. Mm-hmm. That'd be great. If not, no worries. So anyways, let me start in here with Lord Stark of Winterfell, which is a great freaking name. And I'm going to do 5. I'm just going to do 5 here, and then we'll kind of spread out the rest over a couple podcasts here. But just a quick review. Wanted to say thank you and give him a little shout out here on the podcast. He said, what a great podcast. Lane and Ezra have put together a great show / program around Tolkien's masterpiece. Can't help but to think that he would be pleased with what you gentlemen are doing. Wow. That's a compliment.
That's probably the highest praise you can get. Yeah.
I usually read Lord of the Rings once a year, and To have this podcast to follow along with makes it feel as though I am journeying through Middle-earth with great companions.
Right back
Keep
at
up,
you, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Keep up the fantastic work. Gandalf the Grey once said to a rather admirable hobbit, I am looking for someone to share in an adventure that I am arranging, and it's very difficult to find anyone. Lane and Ezra, I do not foresee you running into this issue. Cheers to you both.
I got a little teary when I read that one.
Yeah, it's big.
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it was good.
That meant a lot. He went above and beyond with, I mean, they
Yeah.
all of you guys do, but that was cool. It hit me. Yeah.
Stoked, guys. You may keep going with just, or you want to go back and forth?
You can go back and forth if you want.
Okay, yeah.
We've got, oh my gosh, sorry. Ephraim James Menchaca. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. That's an incredibly unique name. I love that. Review, he gave us 5 stars on Facebook. This is a Facebook review. A fortnight is too long, he says. Great podcast. Really enjoyed it. Just finished Children of Hurin. Need you guys to hurry up and get to that one. That's on our list, my friend. So I appreciate the passionate camaraderie that you're bringing our fellowship. Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's see. We got Fogey24, which I believe is our good friend David Fogel. I hope that's him.
The golden voice.
The golden voice.
Man,
I know.
Fogey.
I love that. Yeah. Lane and Ez are
Sounds
working.
like this.
It really does.
It's incredible.
He has such a good voice.
Yeah.
Lane and Ez are working some podcast magic. You guys work really well off each other. Thanks, Fogel. You're putting out some great content. Looking forward to the podcast to come. Great job, guys. Thanks, folks.
Well, we got him fooled because we hate each other.
That's right.
I've got another review from Facebook from Christopher Michael. This dude has been giving us some of the most hilarious comments.
I know.
We're gonna read one later because it's just so funny.
Yeah.
So funny. So he's and here's the thing about all these reviews too. They're all so unique.
I know.
And they capture perfectly what we're all creating here with this book club. He says, loving the living room book club feel of this podcast that you have going on. Intelligent and in-depth discussion without any annoying, stuffy pretentiousness you get from some Tolkien discussion. Wow. So we pride ourselves on being just simple dudes, right? We're fans just like you. We're not experts. We love just talking and bringing our perspectives. And so that's great because it's exactly what we want this book club to be. We don't want anyone to be turned away because, well, how long have you been a fan? You shall not pass. No, this is for everybody, whether you have never read the book before or you've read it for the 100th time.
Right.
It's for everyone.
That's a great part. We said this before, time and time again. Different people coming in at different areas and levels of knowledge, and it's fantastic. Okay, so I think I'm up next, right? An unexpected obsession. This is Go Johnny Go. I was really surprised at how great this podcast is, as the lanes sound like they are having a really great time, and that's what makes the show enjoyable. I look forward to the next episode. I'm going to be with you guys the entire journey. That's interesting that I read that right now as Lane sits across the table and is like mocking me, you guys. Yeah, we have a great time together. And then like Lane sits over there and, we can't get anything done because he just... Anyways.
Yeah, I'm as and I take 5 hours to set up.
Okay, let's go.
No, but I don't want to take away from that. That was a great review.
No, it really was. Actually.
Excellent.
Thank you.
We've got one from Patrick Flannery, 5-star review. I'm really loving the podcast, you guys. Your great friendship shows through your chemistry and the way you work with each other. I'm really looking forward to the next episode and on into the future. I don't do iTunes, so I hope this review helps. And yes, it did, Pat. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Well, again, I'm glad we joke around, but I love Ez with all my heart. Man. Except for when he opens his mouth, and I really feel like I got some work to do.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys. K Bowden 2. Next review. I'd read the Lord of the Rings series as a teenager after the movies came out. I watched the movies all the time, but never picked up the books again. Listening to this is going to have me pick up the books again and see what other people are thinking. I'm so excited. Sweet. And that's what we want, really, is the idea is to get people back into the reading the books. We said that in episode 1, I think, is to get your book back out and reread it. I'm kind of the same way. Like, literally, this is all I did in middle school and high school. Yeah. Got away from it, and now we're back in it.
Right.
So,
and I really love, too, I mean, I've never read it with someone else. So it's cool to have this format where we can hear other people's ideas, incorporate them into the podcast, because that to me is just enlarging, like you said, the universe. It's great. Yep. Got another Facebook review. Charlotte Hinton gave us 5 stars. Started listening to this podcast on a whim when it was suggested, and I love it, she says. Great conversation and reread, and brings back so many memories of an awesome series. Going to reread along with the guys. Really good and in-depth discussion, and enjoy the banter between the hosts.
Jeez. Well,
enthusiastic, wonderfully written, beautiful review. Thank you, Charlotte.
Right.
Thank you very much.
I wish we enjoyed the banter as much as...
I mean, I really can't wait for you to just leave, because you keep looking out the windows like there's a Black Rider.
It is scary.
I hope you got
outside.
shadow facts ready. Reformer Maggot's going to take you under there.
It's scary. Okay.
Yeah.
I think, do I have one more here? I do.
Mm-hmm.
PhD Mama 06. I haven't picked up the Lord of the Rings in quite some time, and am very excited to join Lane and Ez for a reread and to get to know some of Tolkien's other work later on. Their banter is fun to listen to, and these guys make Tolkien's books very approachable and interesting to learn about. Can't wait to hear more. I can't wait to hear more of your thoughts.
Yes.
And part of this, guys, we're reading some of the reviews. That's just to give you guys sort of a shout out, because I want to hear what you have to say about this chapter. It's a small chapter, even chapters in the past, just because I want to know what we missed. We're on a timer here sometimes, and so we get through some of this in a hurry, or we try not to, you know what I mean? But like, we can't go for 4 hours. We went for 2.5, which I think has surprised people for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we did.
But, this is a shorter one, and, it just is what it is. So, want more of your thoughts. So, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Next review is a 5-star review from Cyprian DeVito. Really unique name. Love that name. My introduction to Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, for that matter, went like this. I was in the 5th grade, so about 10 years old, and my dad rented the Fellowship of the Ring for us to watch on VHS.
Let's go.
Someone else mentioned their VHS last podcast. I still have my VHSs.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think we need to bust those out and display them somewhere. We popped it in to play, having no idea that it was 3 hours, that it was based off of a book, or that it would take another 2 films and another few years to take us to the end. So a lot like my introduction. That's incredible. Yeah. When the film ended, because I entered total ignorance. This is a lot like what she's talking about. When the film ended, but the story remained unresolved, we were so disappointed, confused, and hooked. That's literally, I can relate to that. I fell in love with the world immediately, to the point where if I ever did anything bad, my parents would say, "No Lord of the Rings tonight." Dude, that's worse than like no supper before bed.
Right, that's messed up.
It is. I read The Hobbit and then tried to read The Lord of the... Whoa.
Lane's trying to read over there too.
You start that part over. I read The Hobbit and then tried to read The Lord of the Rings, but I was too young for the writing style to hold my attention. Absolutely. Now, over 10 years later, I'm finally reading the trilogy with you and falling back in love with the world. Amazing. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for an unexpected podcast, for deepening my understanding of the text and sharing in my fascination. It really helps, as I'm an art and design college student with lots of homework. I'm even thinking of doing character designs for Tolkien's characters for my portfolio.
Sweet.
Send them along. Yes. We would love to see those. Post them on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Cyprian, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Beautiful review.
Yep. We got a couple stories now, don't we?
We do. So those were all those are reviews that we're reading. Then we also get messages from a lot of people.
Yeah, we want these. We want your Tolkien story. We want how did you get into it? What's your origin story?
Kind of your background with Tolkien. So we get these messages probably 2 or 3 a week, it seems like. So we can't read them all right now just because of time, but we're going to get through all of them. So we're going to read through 4 for this episode. And then same with the reviews. We have more we have to get to, but we're going to save that for the next episode. So, Ez, you want to take the first one?
Yeah. Do you have?
Sorry about that.
It's cool. Just toss that to me with no script over here. I would love to make a Beverly story.
Get that up for you. That's what she said.
Jiminy Christmas.
I'm sorry, bud.
No, that's cool. Take your time.
Beverly Stottleman is our first one.
All right, let's have it.
And I'm getting it for Ez here.
I think
there you go, bud.
I think I might know Beverly. Let me see here.
Really?
Oh my gosh, I do know Beverly. She's a swisher.
Okay.
She's jumping ship.
Plays basketball. Is that what that means?
Right. Or? That's what it means. Yeah. Well, she's the one starting this crossover between like Swish and Flick and Unexpected Podcast.
The Unexpected Swish?
They want to call it an Unexpected Flick.
Flick, yeah. Yeah. Swish and Unexpected Flask.
So here we go. Beverly, in your last episode, you asked for our Tolkien stories. Here's mine. My mother was a huge Tolkien fan, and when I was in kindergarten, she and my older brother started reading The Hobbit together as the before bed story. I got to sit in with them and listen. We would rent the Rankin and Bass animated movie for The Hobbit, and oh yeah, wow. Holy smokes! I almost forgot that there was an animated.
Yeah,
all of it's animated. Yeah,
I have not seen those. I
You
think we probably need to make that happen and maybe do a review.
that was something like my grandma would put in. Just for us
I know.
yeah,
I
okay.
never. I'm telling you, I entered Fellowship of the Ring ignorant in 2001.
Yeah. So, anyways, she would, put those movies in for The Hobbit, and I still get nostalgic when I hear Glenn Yarborough's. I don't know. Yeah. Folky voice, The Greatest Adventure. Then the summer after I finished 6th grade, my parents shipped my brother off to Switzerland to spend time with our family. It was both of our first times traveling alone. My mother wisely packed 3 bulky books in my bag. Jeez, this is a great story. I read the Lord of the Rings trilogy that summer and can't imagine a better introduction. When we would be on the train going from one relative to another, I would have the book out.
It sounds kind of like the ultimate cross between Lord of the Rings, Narnia, and Harry Potter. There,
well, yeah,
on a train in Switzerland, reading Lord of the
Rings.
One,
and something that she says here is, she's looking out the windows at mountains and forests and castles and old towns.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, she felt like she was in Middle Earth. She also got very homesick as it was my first time away from my parents, and I related to the characters. It made it okay to be sad, sometimes, even though you may be on a great adventure seeing new things. Very true.
And I think that's something we don't explore very much with Tolkien, is his sense of it's all right to be sad. It's okay to feel doomed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. She says, whenever I visit my family abroad, I get the urge to reread the trilogy. Thank you guys for doing this podcast. I haven't gone in a while, too long. And this gives me another reason to reread and keep up the good work. So, yeah, I think that's really neat because I just kind of, I'm them there, right? She's traveling in the train with her book, reading. I think that's really cool. And what you're seeing around you feels very Middle Earth-like, or, like you said, it's that cross.
That's the one thing I'm kind of regretful. I don't have many regrets about New Zealand. That's one of them. I should have read Lord of the Rings when I was actually there.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Shame on me.
Yeah.
I had 2 chances. What a moron. Okay, our next one is, and guys, some of these names, we have the most unique names of any podcast in the world. And I've got a unique name. I've been called Lance, Zane, Wayne, Dwayne. My wife's grandpa and grandma are 2 of the best people in the world. Grandpa Ward will still sometimes call me Dwayne.
That's awesome.
It's great. I mean, to the point where like everyone on that side of the family calls me Dwayne as a joke. So people have always mispronounced my name or called me the wrong name. So if we do that, apologies. But we're gonna try to knock it out of the park. Linnea K is our next Tolkien story. I guess this is kind of more like a review, but it's a message she sent us, so we'll read it. Yeah. I'm a fellow Swisher that is taking the Hogwarts train to the Shire.
That's what I'm talking about.
She says, I've always wanted to read this series, but have been talked out of it every time.
Who in the world?
We got to look at your friends here, Linnea. Who's
I swear to God, if that was somebody on Swish and Flick, you let me know.
Who's giving you advice?
I'm going up there Saturday. I will straighten them out.
I don't think it's any of those girls, right?
Okay.
Maybe it's just means in her life she's said, I'd like to get in Lord of the Rings. Man, come on. There's a lot of descriptions of hills.
Sure.
So, well, we're glad you're with us now. I think I could handle reading along with you guys. Awesome. Thanks for doing this. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Linnea. That's great. Awesome.
Sweet. Who's next? We got
Chris Broughton.
Chris. Well, which one is it here?
What's that? Clicked on it.
Yeah, which one? You got a lot of them here. Which one?
What's that?
I mean, Christmas.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, because there's one in here.
There's correspondence going on. That's the other thing too, is we do respond to your messages. So sometimes our stuff's mixed in there that we have to.
Should I look for older messages?
Yeah, I would go. Yes, older messages. I believe it started with the story.
Well.
Again.
I mean, it's kind of there. Yeah, let's. Yeah, here we go. We'll go with it. Just started listening to you guys. Absolutely love your enthusiasm. It's nice to hear someone who shares my positivity on all things Tolkien. I'm gonna leave you a 5 stars on iTunes at some point today. Wow, sweet. And then we've just gone back and forth with Chris. Is this a message? I think we've been messaging
I think
back
so.
and forth. Yeah. Okay. Oh, at the very end, the funny thing that he says. Mention that now.
Yeah.
Where he says, "One podcast to rule them all unexpectedly."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I think we need that on a shirt or something.
We do. That would be really. That'd be really cool. So. He had a lot of cool things. We're going to be referencing him later. He literally keeps me on my toes, says some funny crap
he
from
does.
time to time. So we'll keep referencing him.
And then we have one more that we're going to share today. It's Caleb William Sowers. Sorry, I got to go to old messages here. Okay, he said, I figured I'd share my story with how I found and fell in love with all things Middle-earth.
Sweet.
I grew up in Streetsboro, Ohio, so a fellow Ohio boy, Shire born. I guess I didn't move far because at 33, I live only 30 minutes away in Akron. Growing up, I had a real hard time learning to read. I really didn't have a good grasp on it until midway through 2nd grade, and even then, reading out loud in class tended to be embarrassing for me. It wasn't that I didn't like to, I just really struggled. It didn't click. Something changed, though, going into 3rd grade, and as you can probably relate to this, my brother.
Yeah.
I picked up some books at a garage sale, and after a good amount of begging, my mom bought them for me. They were the Dragon Lace Chronicles by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. I struggled, stumbled, and fumbled my way through the first one, but after that, I was rolling. I ate those books up, then read just about any high fantasy book the small library in Streetsboro had. Unfortunately, they didn't have The Lord of the Rings. At least not shelved in fantasy, and I didn't know to ask for them. 6th grade rolled around, and part of the requirement for my English class was to complete a book report for an assigned book, and they had a very short list of available books. This is great, dude.
This is awesome.
They were all the usual suspects: Three Musketeers, Pride and Prejudice, Shakespearean works, all that, and then at the bottom, some book called The Fellowship of the Ring.
Wow.
Thank
just
God
some
for
book.
that. Huh? That's
just,
right.
Just some book.
I didn't recognize that one, so I picked it.
Yeah.
Needless to say, Caleb, you're an incredible writer, by the way. Needless to say, I loved it. I read all 3 in a month, then The Hobbit. I found out Tolkien had written some other things like Roverandom, which I have as well, so I read that too. I devoured all things Tolkien. The 70s animated movies, bad as they were, I watched and rewatched. I began to write fan fiction in 8th grade.
Holy smokes.
Wow, trying to just keep the magic alive. But by the time 10th grade rolled around, girls and cars had replaced the magic of that forgotten world. This is amazing. When I turned 17, my mother sprung a surprise on me. 8 days before my birthday, she gave me a present. She had pre-ordered tickets to the first showing on the first day for the Fellowship of the Ring movie. 2 tickets so I could take my friend. Instead, I took my mom.
Yes.
Wow. She wasn't a Tolkien reader herself. Yeah, you will. But she had learned all about it because of me and loved when I read to her. I think she just loved that I was reading. For all 3 movies, my mom and I went to the very first showing on the very first day of every movie. My birthdays and Christmases were filled with Lord of the Rings. I have every figure, puzzle, Lord of the Rings Risk, chess set, collector knives, and yes, the BK goblets. I remember those BK goblets, baby. Still get them on YouTube.
Wow.
Or, my gosh, eBay.
Same thing.
Sorry, dude. Mom, no, it's not. Mom and Dad got me everything they saw. When the Hobbit movie started, my family had moved to Illinois while I stayed behind in Ohio. I watched the movie with my wife, who was a good sport but not really into it. The same year that An Unexpected Journey came out, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. I watched the movie with her on DVD while she lay in bed. She would bounce back, but eventually the cancer returned. On my last trip to see her, I bought the second Hobbit movie on DVD, and we sat up till midnight watching it together. She loved them both, but she never saw the last one. Jeez. I love everything Tolkien. I eat it up, But for me, despite my love for it, it's all a little bittersweet because it's all tinged with memories of my mom.
Yep.
As corny and fanboyish as it may sound, I feel a bit like Sam watching the elves marching to the Grey Havens. It all makes me a little sad. That aside, you guys are doing an awesome job, and I'm glad to have found this podcast. Amazing story, Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb, I cannot tell you how similar that story is to my own. That's just unreal, man. I cannot. I honestly, Lane replies to a lot of stuff on our social media, and I had not read that. Mm-hmm. Normally, I read these beforehand, and no joke, I think I even said this in my first story. My mom did not get to see the last one either, and my dad made it a point that we're going to go watch it, and we can tell the story. Yeah. And I did. And I went and, Mom knows the story, but went and told her how good a film it was, So, yeah, man, I tell you, that's awesome. I'm really glad we shared that one. That's a good one to end on right there.
Yeah, that's pretty beautiful.
So, that's awesome. All your stories, guys, are just so cool because they're just these memories. You know what I mean? I'm with Beverly on the train, I'm still there. It's something that when we see your face, we connect a story with you. You know what I mean? Right. It's something else, man.
Wow. Okay. Something else I want to put in real quick. Yeah. If there's even a way to move on from that, is we've been doing these polls after every chapter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we did a couple this past week to catch up because I had missed chapters 2 and 3. We did one for 1, and then also who would win in or who you'd pick as a ring bearer over between Bilbo and Frodo. I don't know if we shared the results for that, but that was split right down the middle. We had 40 votes, which seems to be about our average on this. We're blown away by how many people are voting.
I know,
and we love it because it's a cool way to just kind of something fun you can do.
Quick sampling,
right? Yeah. That's random that can brighten your day, and the GIFs make it cool too. So, Middle Earth SmackDown number 1. Who's a better hero ring bearer? Bilbo, 52%. Close second, Frodo, 48%. So pretty clear cut there. That's a polarizing issue there, Frodo and Bilbo.
Yeah, it is.
Okay?
It is.
After chapter 2, we said, after reading chapter 2, who would you rather have... After reading chapter 2, who would you rather have your back on the road to Mordor? Your choices were Gandalf and Samwise. Gandalf took that poll victory as well with 60%. Samwise, 40%.
Yeah, if we had time, I'd go into
delve into that a little bit.
I'd go into a little gripe on that.
Crazy because Sam voted for Ez voted for Samwise.
Right. Yeah.
I'm getting a little sleepy.
It's okay.
But he's in love with Gandalf, so I need to hear this conversation too. I'm kind of baffled when I saw that.
That's something.
42 votes on that one too. Excellent. And then at chapter 3's conclusion, we've had the opportunity to party with both hobbits and elves. So the real question is, you're throwing a bash. Do you invite hobbits or elves? This was a landslide, dude.
Yeah.
35 people voted. Hobbits, 89%.
Absolutely.
Elves, 11.
Wasn't there a funny comment?
There was a hilarious comment.
Yeah.
So it made me feel kind of bad for elves, though, because especially after reading this chapter, you see they take care of you after they've gone.
Yeah.
So no hangovers with them. Hobbits, I don't know. They probably check on you.
But I don't know.
So Christopher Michael had a hilarious comment on this one.
Yeah.
He's commented on a couple of polls. They're just funny. He said, the drunk dancing on the table or the guy who only drinks Glenlivet with a single ice cube while discussing market futures.
Single.
Hilarious. Hilarious. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, dude. You want to do some, we said this was going to be a short episode.
It's not.
You want to do some strawberries with cream?
Yeah. Let's do strawberries with cream, and then we'll get you guys out of here. Yeah. So this is just our little comical little something Lane throws together. He makes a little dessert at the end here.
Gotta have something sweet to leave the podcast on.
So yeah, and this is going to be kind of a tease,
a little bit of a tease, which we haven't done as much as we were going to. We just got sucked into the world of Tolkien. Wow, dude!
Wow, the world of water.
I'm tapping out. I need my sub.
Lane is so tired right now. Okay, so anyways, we're gonna do we're talking makeup. If you could have Tammy Lane transform you into one character / creature, who and what would it be and why?
Yes. As you're up first, babe.
Why am I up first? Okay, I got it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, slam. Pretty simple. I just feel like a dwarf.
Just any dwarf.
Just
a particular dwarf or your own unique dwarf?
No, I think I'd like to see what she would do. I think I'd like to see what she would do, right? You know, what take my features and characteristics and, you know, turn me into whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, exaggerate them and go to town. I think that's what
that'd be really cool.
That'd be ridiculous. I would look ridiculous, but it would be kind of funny.
I think you'd look awesome.
And she does a good job. I always really liked the dwarves. I was always kind of a...
The dwarves are amazing. They're underrated.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they have a sad story. I mean, their homelands are all taken. I wonder if we could even ask Tammy to do a concept sketch of you as a dwarf.
My God!
Like if she had you as a blank canvas, how would she transform you into a dwarf? If you guys would like to see that, let us know. Now, if we have enough people, going for that, I bet Tammy would do it for us.
But she would. I bet
she'd probably do it anyway.
I would need spectacles. That's my one thing.
You would, and
I wouldn't be able to see.
Balin has like the kind of the monocle he pulls out.
Yep.
Or whatever. But
that. I'd be no good glasses to the company.
You need a little glare on it too, so maybe go after a dragon with those glasses. I can't see him. That's great, Ez. I like that.
What do you got? What creature / character?
Nearly as original as you. I would love to. My favorite baddie is Lurtz.
Mm-hmm.
The Uruk-hai leader in Fellowship fights Aragorn at the end of that movie.
Right.
And he's just so dang alluring.
Yeah.
For being a villain. I think it'd be cool to get dressed up as Lurtz and just go around and freak people out. Maybe on Halloween, maybe normally. Also, I think
it'd just be you walking into a store to buy some milk and bread.
Sure.
That would be hilarious.
Amazing. I also just think it'd be cool to get dressed up as Lurtz and then just go out in the woods and just walk around.
Oh, dude.
And see if I would just maybe...
I'm not going to be able to go outside, dude.
Become Lurtz.
This is
maybe
ridiculous.
run into a Sasquatch or something.
It's ridiculous.
Hunter would probably shoot me, though. Yeah, you're not going to be able to leave.
Yeah, I'm scared.
So anyway, those are our... And maybe after you guys listen to Tammy's, share with us. Maybe leave a comment, send a message. What would you like to... if Tammy could transform you into something, what would you like her to do?
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Thanks for hanging in there with us this long. If you're still listening, wow.
Oh, of course they're still listening.
We love you. Yeah. We love you.
Yeah.
And we're glad you're here. So we want to share the load, though. If you're interested in Patreon, we are going to post Chapter 2 soon. We've got some prints, which hopefully don't let me forget to take those, Lane. I will take those today.
Yes, sir.
Things we're working on for the Patreon. We're also thinking about doing like a little giveaway there for anybody who just signs up on Patreon, whatever tier you want. Been working with a new group called Rebel Toys, and they have some Lord of the Rings toys.
And we're going to go visit them, right? And kind of talk to them because they know their stuff. One of the guys knows their stuff about Lord of the Rings toys. They do. So looking forward to that.
I think they're really kind of cool. So anyways, we've got some different things on there. We're going to upload our Middle Earth SmackDown. We've got There and Back Again. We're going to have some illustrations and what have you there on it's on patreon.com /Talking Tolkien. Talking Tolkien, excuse me.
You're excused.
So thank you. We'll also join the conversation on Facebook. Same thing, / Up Talking Tolkien. We have our Pop Socket giveaway on iTunes. If you leave us a review there, up to 50, you have a 1 in 10 chance. So go for that. We'll also be doing a little giveaway for everybody on Facebook too. We have a little toy giveaway that we're going to be doing at some point. So, I think we should be there. So, anything else, Lane, for the good of the cause?
No. Just know that we're always thinking about this podcast. We're always thinking about things that we can do in the future. We've got some pretty exciting things that are coming down the pike. A lot of people say pipe. It's pike. Also, Ezra, how do you say the word? It's just random. It's that time of night.
Okay. Fine.
What do you call the thing that you get water from outside? A water
spigot. Hose.
It's not spigot. It's spigot.
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 Spaghetti. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. It's that time of night.
It is that time of night. Turn the spigot off.
Turn it off.
Turn it off.
Turn it off, brother.
Turn it off.
Okay.
No, but yeah, we've got some cool stuff coming up. We're always thinking about ways we can evolve the show. bring this podcast to you, bring you to the podcast, and how we can continue to live out our book club.
Yeah, and hey, if you guys have ideas for that and things that you'd like to see us try and do, please let us know. We're down to do more things on Patreon, things on Facebook, all that kind of stuff. So we're evolving, we're growing, and we like your guys' feedback. So
there you go.
All right, guys, it's time for the fortnight farewell. Time to sign off.
Sad as it is, we want to thank you for stepping off the road with us. Our next episode will be digging deep into Chapter 5, A Conspiracy Unmasked. And keep your eye out, keep your ear to the ground for a little surprise.
That's right. If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, or leave a comment. Or you can always send us a Shadowfax.
We'll see you in a fortnight. And remember, Frodo lives.
Was
that 3 hours long? How long was that? How long was that?
2 hours and 29 minutes.
Dude, can we not do a short podcast?
Dude,
we can't do it.